Tipp today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning and welcome into Tipp today on Thursday. It's clearly not Fran Curry today. It's Donald Doyle sitting in for him. It's my first time in this studio and on this desk and on this show. So when things might and do go wrong, please be gentle with me and patient. And if we press the wrong button, we'll recover it fairly quickly. So coming up on this morning's show, Cllr Michael Chicken Brennan will be joining us live in studio in just a few moments, but we have a little bit of housekeeping to get through first. Later on, Tom Hennessey will be urging the public to help save free parking in Cahir, and we'll talk about that parking harmonisation in general. We'll be getting a taste of the St. Patrick's Day parades taking place over the next few days. A lot of them, of course, happening this weekend ahead of the big day itself next Tuesday. Former soldier and defence analyst Declan Power will be joining us to look at geopolitics and the state of the world in general at the moment and our place in it. Prendergast will be here for the interiors slot, and Muriel Cuddy will be helping us look at weight loss. All this and much more coming up in the next 3 hours. But first up this morning, this week on Tipp Today, we're giving away a €200 voucher for Mr. Menswear. Whether it's Debs, confirmations, communions, weddings or race day, you'll find the perfect suit, shoes and accessories in store in Cashel or in Cahir, as well as online at mrmister.ie. Now, we are selecting one finalist every day and the winner will be announced tomorrow. If you'd like to enter, you can do it on WhatsApp now to 083 311 3311. You should just put Mr. on your message along with your name and details. Now, as is tradition, we'll have a quick look at the newspapers today and see what we have on the front pages. The main one on most of the pages, of course, is that victorious picture, and it's the same one on a lot of our front pages, of our absolute hero Ronnie Delaney, our first track and field Olympic gold medalist in Ireland, who's died at the age of 91. Obviously everyone, I certainly was aware of Ronnie Delaney all through my career, but I wasn't really aware that he was just 21 when he won that gold medal in Melbourne. So commiserations to his family and the wider sporting community in Ireland. That is the passing of an absolute legend. Also on the Irish Times today, Iran is warning the world to prepare for soaring oil prices. We know at this stage that the Iranian tactic is to disrupt the world markets and oil prices, and they're warning that it could go over $200 a barrel for crude oil, which would put the world into a downspin, we suspect. We'll be talking about the cost of living very shortly with Michael Chicken Brennan. The other couple of main stories on the Irish Times: peat exports hitting almost €40 million despite a crackdown. This is a story where Ireland exported nearly 40 million worth of turf and peat last year, despite the fact that there's no known legal commercial peat extraction going on in the country. So where's the difference there? There's also a story that will be obviously of interest to a lot of people across the country today, that floods can cause depression, anxiety and severe stress. Huge psychological impacts apparently. People describe feeling intense fear during floods, and that's followed by worry and hypervigilance afterwards, fear of the next flood, and this is compounded by anger and despair when there's slow recovery and all the clean up and insurance work that needs to be gone on. And I know from talking to people myself that it's not just a matter of cleaning up. The smell of that dirty water and the impact of it can go on for a long time. Moving on. The other main thing from my point of view, a little hint at the announcement later on of the Ireland rugby team for this weekend. Apparently Tommy O'Brien will be coming back on the left wing for Stockdale when the Ireland team is named by Andy Farrell later on today. So on the Examiner today, this story about Strikers Irish HQ crippled by a wiper hacker attack. We believe that it's Iranian-based hackers attacking an American company. They've already listed American companies like Google and Microsoft who are their targets, but they're doing it in this hybrid warfare way. So Cork has more than 4,000 employees in that company, and a lot of those have had their devices wiped. This isn't a ransomware or anything like that. It's purely to disrupt the company, and that obviously having a big effect down there in Cork. Also, the main story under the picture of Ronnie Delaney is Iran telling us to prepare for oil to hit $200 a barrel. It is expected it could go to 150, all right, and it has dropped below 100, I think, on the latest markets yesterday, but we should see that going up again. They're talking about the new naval service boarding powers will be more challenging in another story, and the Examiner talking about a Cork developer, John Fleming, being back building in Cork after going bankrupt 15 years ago. Now moving on to, I should say, the other little story on the Examiner as well is also featured on the front of the Farmers Journal today. North Cork creameries are said to be on the brink of failure. There's been a lot of toing and froing there with the interim CEO Michael Cronin resigning on Tuesday night, with Stephen Daly being installed on Wednesday yesterday. I believe he had been previously in power there as well. So there's a lot of shifting going on in their board, and I think it's all down to the EPA more or less shutting down the milk plant in Kanturk there, and they're not sure how they're going to continue out of that. So that mentioned in the front of the Farmers Journal as well as the Examiner. The oil surge in oil prices is going to drive up silage costs is the other big headline on the Farmers Journal this week. Obviously, the price of green diesel is going to feed into a lot of farm operations. However, in a slightly mitigating factor, the cost of plastic wrap for silage would be expected to go up. Obviously, it's an offshoot of the petrochemical industry, but apparently a lot of the wrap used in Ireland, are set to be used in Ireland this year, has already been manufactured at the lower prices, so that won't kick in for a little while. The front of the Daily Mail today is sex offenders are working as paramedics. This is a story where apparently a paramedic oversight body, the Pre-Hospital Emergency Care Council, has complained to the HSE and the Health Minister Jennifer Carroll McNeill that there's no mechanisms or obligations for paramedic staff to inform the ambulance regulator of previous criminal convictions. The Indo today, the front of the Irish Independent, obviously it is big on Cheltenham, the Irish on song on day 2, plus the top tips for today's, the banner across the top, obviously a picture of Ronnie Delaney crossing the line in Melbourne for a gold medal. Iran war travel chaos, they're wondering if it is safe to book a flight to Australia, and the big headline story, front page story for the Independent today is a tough plan on immigration, says it has to benefit Ireland. In a clear move towards making a harder stance on immigration, this report to ministers has warned that the system going forward must be founded on respect for the social and cultural norms of Ireland, and it looks to set out how the state should approach it over the next decade after a period in which immigration has become a political flashpoint across the country and here in Tipperary. That's the papers then for today, and as I mentioned there at the top of the show, we have been joined here by Labour Councillor Michael Chicken Brennan. Good morning, Michael. How are you?
Morning, Don, and good morning to all your listeners.
Yeah, it's nice and windy out there. You didn't hit any fallen branches or anything as you travelled in?
No, nothing yet, but it's supposed to continue for another couple of hours, so hopefully the roads will stay safe and everyone will be okay.
Yeah, we hope so. So take care on the roads and watch out for those flying debris and branches and stuff. I did see one branch as I came in this morning, cartwheeling across the road in front of me like tumbleweed, but it wasn't particularly large, but the risk is there. So Michael, look, you've come in. There's clear problems we're having in Ireland as a result of the war in Iran and everything else that went before in terms of cost of living. Tell us what you're thinking on the situation is at the moment.
Well, I suppose, look, everything has come up lately now since the war in Iran started, and the increase in fuel prices and home heating oil have been triggered by the war in Iran. But like the ordinary people that are on the basic income wage have been suffering with this crisis for the last number of months because of the cost of living alone before these increases came in the last couple of days. And there's a lot of people living in the poverty line. There's a lot of people just below the poverty line, but there's a lot of people slightly above it as well. But as I said, there's a lot of people well below the poverty line, and they are struggling. And they're struggling to keep their shopping. Like if you go into Tesco's or Dunn's or anything like that and just observe, sit in the car park, you will not see many people coming out with full baskets of shopping or trolleys or anything like that. People are just living day to day because that's the way they can only live. They can only manage what the money that they have to do. And people, there's a lot of houses in arrears in energy bills, and that's a big one because you're paying off so much off your arrears and you're trying to pay and keep on top of your electricity that you can keep it going. But your arrears constantly are building up and they're not getting off, and it's the fear then that we say in the last couple of weeks with the heating oil, the petrol and the fuel at the pumps. And it puts fear in people, and it makes people very worried. And now you're coming into the time of the year, confirmations, communions, the sports are starting back for all the children. They'll be taken to matches, training a couple of nights a week, and this is more pressure on parents again. And I thought, listening to Shea Brennan the other night on the television, and he was saying that the government will act accordingly when they see this after St. Patrick's Day. The people can't wait. Some people might have to wait till after St. Patrick's Day to get money for the next week because the money for that week is gone, and they could be without food on the table, heating their house and keeping the general running of a daily life right, So, I think the government needs to act here, and we would be calling on the government to act here and reinstate the fuel allowance, extend it if they have to people and get them through this crisis. And also, I think we need to look at the way the prices and the petrol and the diesel has gone up. I was looking at diesel the other day in one station, it was 179. It went to 189, it went to 201, and yesterday it was 207. And and that's not pressure on the people working in there or that filling station. It's coming in from the distributors who's bringing in the oil into the countries and are taking advantage of this situation. But here again we're letting it happen, the government are letting it happen, and we're crippling the people on the ground who are suffering, and they are the most vulnerable people, and they are the ones again that take the hit.
Yeah, and we've seen it. It's hit everyone's pocket, just the getting the tank filled to get to work these days. It's frightening. Every time you go into a filling station, the prices jumped 10, 15 cent, and we've been seeing that since early last week. And that's the first impact. You've obviously mentioned the prices of electricity, which haven't been hit yet, but we assume that they will be hit eventually in terms of the oil coming in and Ireland's exposure to gas, even though we've been told many times, Michael, I'm sure you know that Ireland is a sort of a special case in terms of the energy markets because we're an island and we're completely dependent on imported fossil fuel, despite the amount of progress that's been made. Slow progress, we have to admit, in renewables, in wind and solar energy. The cost going up at the pumps. We've heard of staff in petrol stations getting abused, but as you say, this cost is being passed on by distributors, and it's happened before their stocks should have been depleted.
Yeah, and this comes on to, and you look at, you just take small filling stations in rural towns. The capacity of diesel or petrol or diesel that they'll sell during the week is kind of on a steady basis. They'll have their regular customers going in and they'll have that level and they get that maybe topped up every week or whatever. So I did see in the start of this that there was an increase of cars pulling up. People were filling, trying to get the best price and the whole lot. So that's passed on to them, and it's unfair for people to be going into these filling stations and having to go at the staff, because at the end of the day, they're still service workers. They're providing the oil and diesel for us to get, and the increase is coming from the people who are making the money all the time out of it. And as we said, it's being passed down, and it's not the fault of the people that has the rural shop or the rural pumps and the whole lot, but it's the big buys again making the money and just taking advantage of a situation that is it's sad that it happened, that this war is happening, but also the situation that we're crippling the most vulnerable people here again, and it's one thing that we do very good in Ireland.
Yeah, the government has said they're going to have the CCPC investigating whether there's price gouging, but that's not really the job of the Commission there, is it? They can investigate monopolies and cartel behaviour, but they've no power to actually say, listen, you can't hedge your bets here and put up prices.
No, they don't. They're very limited.
So what should the government be doing?
Well, they're very limited in that, but what I do think they should do is that I think the first one, especially, like you look at the home heating aisle. If you got home heat last week and you paid only 500 for it, if you're getting it this week, you're paying 900. They should be able to put a cap on that, because the Taoiseach has admitted this week that we get most of our oil from the North Sea, and there's no supply disruption coming there. So the evidence is there that it is being inflicted on the people on the ground that are using the petrol and the diesel the most, and they are, as I said, the most vulnerable who are going to suffer, and it's going to continue. And the government here are very slow to take action on anything, and they're waiting to see, like as I said, Shea Brennan the other night, Pierce Doherty was putting the pressure on him that they need to act now, and waiting to see and they'll act accordingly, and that's the kind of the phrase that this government has used all along in previous things as well, where we've seen conflicts as well.
Yeah, any idea what's the best way to impose these price caps? Can it be done for petrol and diesel and home heating oil? Like, how would it work, do you know?
Well, I suppose, look, I don't know how it will actually work as such, but like there should be like a basic cut-off that we can't go any higher. I think we do have a 90-day reserve if there was a supply disruption here, that we shouldn't be putting the increases in now, because we have a backup and we have a supply for, and the demand is there for it. But like, if there was to be a supply disruption of fuel and heating oil coming into Ireland, and then the government has to look and say, well, right, we'll have to ration it maybe or whatever, but we need to keep it at the prices that the people can work at, and I'd hope, like looking at the TV clip the other night, like looking back in the 70s when cars were queuing and they were pushing the cars to the pumps, like, I hope that this won't escalate, that we'll go back to them days and see that. But I suppose the biggest crunch again, and I suppose I'll just reiterate it again, is that it's the pressure is putting back on the people that are driving to work daily. Like one number of people I think about is, like, everyone has to go to work there to pay for their fuel and the whole lot. But imagine the carers that are on the road constant every day of the week now and having to pay these fuel prices for a service that is being provided at the best of their ability to all their patients and the whole lot. And look what they have to suffer now this week with that increase, like, you know what I mean? But that's the thing about it, they'll get out and they'll do their work because they are committed people and they know what to do. But again, here we are hitting the people that work the hardest in this country.
Yeah, I suppose the other thing affecting everyone trying to get to work, aside from filling the tanks, is the damage done by the extreme weather that we're getting more and more often now due to climate change. I'm hearing yourself and other councillors bring it up at meetings across the county. The state of the roads after this intense rain. We haven't had that much snow and ice, but that's a factor as well. It's getting bad, Michael, isn't it?
It is done. And look, I suppose I'm dedicating this week and next week to roads, because I've been inundated by people in relation to roads, the condition of them. We come out and we fill potholes, they're gone again the day after, they're washed out. We're using the wrong mix. The tar and chip doesn't work because it gets washed out. And I'm not blaming the outdoor staff here on this, because they're controlled by what they can do and the spend and the budget. And we hear all these words about constraints of budget and everything is a budgetary matter, like, and that's what we hear, like. But I suppose, like, I was only out yesterday in looking at a couple of roads out around Ballinure and Littleton down to that way, like, and in the municipal district of the Carrick-on-Shore area that I'm a councillor in, and like, they're in a horrendous state, like, and two ladies I spoke to like travel daily on these roads, like, and they're expected to drive their cars out on these roads, like, and it's just unacceptable to think that the roads are like this, like, you know. And like I do believe we should bite it, the council should take the bit by the teeth now, and like it's been mentioned a good few times at meetings that we should actually take a loan out and get our roads in shape and order, you know, because people are travelling daily on them. The cars are getting wrecked. My own car last week, I broke down coming back from the Northern Ireland there last week, and it went into the garage. I had a ball joint gone, I had a tie rod gone, I had an airbag gone, and everything was gone on the one side. Now, and I'm going to just bring to your attention as well, and you were at our municipal meeting last Thursday when I mentioned the state of the road, which is the R689 Killinall to Fethard Road. Now, it's a busy regional road, and last August, September, Irish Water started laying a new water main pipe that's bringing water to our own town of Killinall, which we're very happy to have, and have to have a good supply coming, like, you know, and it's part of the infrastructure that needs to be done. And this water will be distributed further on to the likes of Ballinunty, Glengool, Gurtnahoe, Duella. So it is essential that these works happen. But the condition of this road, from the first week that they worked in the lane of the pipe on this road, at Coolbarn Cross, which is a road that takes people to Drangen, my glass and the whole lot, and as I said, a lot of traffic on this road. Two to three bubbles appeared on the road when they laid the pipe, and within the first week, loads of people had rang me and brought it to my attention in relation to that, like, there's somebody going to have an accident there. If a motorbike hits them at speed or anything like that, they'll get toppled. And as the works commenced on in this weather, and they did work under inclement weather conditions and the whole lot, but as they worked on further in towards the town with this road deteriorated big time. The camber of the road, they were digging holes to giant connection pipes and the whole lot. They were filling them back in. Within a week, they were sunken. There was big divots in them, and I measured one or two of them. Like, one was 9 inches of a divot in the dip of the road, the camber. But like, people are daily travelling on this. They're paying their taxes. They expect good roads to be reinstated when works are commenced. Now, I brought it up last week at the meeting to know was there going to be a full road resurface on this road, and we were told no, that they will go back and they'll do a reinstatement of works. Now, they've gone back and they've done some reinstatements in some places, and they have gone just as bad as what they are. But this road is not safe. I've had tractor drivers coming that draw on this road with high loads of straw and hay, and are very worried about driving on the road with them because of the way the roads can rock from side to side. I've had truck drivers complaining about it, and I have car users and the motorcycles, bikes as well. Like, everyone is driving kind of one side of the right line to avoid hitting all these dips and divots. And as I said, I've highlighted it. I'm out this week on the roads. If there's anybody who wants to contact me with a road that they're worried about in their area, please let me know. But I'm very lucky that in all the complaints I've gotten that road, that there hasn't been an accident, because we haven't taken action by the Tipperary County Council, and I'm hoping that Tipperary County Council will put this road back into a safe manner for people to travel on when the works, which are completed on the road now, but has to be done.
The reinstatement takes a bit of time.
Yeah.
They do it in stages, and the quality is questionable in a lot of cases. I know from talking to yourselves and yourself and many other councillors. I suppose a lot of the time the tab has to be picked up then by the council, and you've mentioned this just a moment ago. Central government isn't giving extra funds for the extra work they have to do because of all this extra intense extreme weather, but you reckon that the council needs to finance it itself?
I think the council need to finance it themselves, because as you know, Donald, I only became a first time councillor in 24 in the June elections, and from what I understand and I gather, and from the budgets and the whole lot, that what Tipperary County Council were getting in roads in the budget that we have to work on in 23 and 22, 23 and 24 is still the same today in 25 and 26. Now, you look at inflation has gone up and everything, and we're not getting the same value for the money as what the spend is to do the job. So
30% less before even this current crisis
as well, like, you know, and even there was a statement made yesterday that County Council are going to look at, if the fuel prices increase, that there'll be services cut again, like, you know, and I don't think we can cut any more services, like, you know, because we are working on minimum kind of scale of work within the budget. And again, like, we'll hear all the words about the constraints of budget and this and that, which are getting very familiar now when you're talking about getting something done. But going back to what you said there originally, that I think that the government or the council will have to take the bull by the horns here and look for a loan, because we're not alone that. We also have housing estates that are in horrendous states. And I'm going back housing estates. I look at St. Patrick's Place in Fethard. I look at Cashel Road in Kinnon. There's many more. There's Grange Mokler. And other councils have loads of lists of housing estates as well. We have footpaths that are in a horrendous state as well. And there's no money being made available to do these. And it was mentioned last week at the meeting that the housing estates might come in under the road programmes work for the next 3 years, and if that happens, then roads are going to lose out. So it's a no-brainer for me that the council need to take a loan out and get these roads and get these housing estates and everything back into shape, because people are just annoyed, angry. They can't understand it, that, you know, the high volume of traffic, like take St. Patrick's Place, that goes through St. Patrick's Place, because it's great to see the success of the town park, but it has brought an extra load of traffic into the area, and the residents are just shocked to think that there has nothing been done with it. And, you know, we will be pushing hard to get something done, but we can't wait another year for this to happen, or neither can any other village or town.
Yeah. We're coming up against an ad break here, Councillor, but I know you were at the bid meeting in Clonmel earlier this week. Tell me what you made of the prospect at this stage. Are the town and the ratepayers behind it?
Yeah, look, I was late to attend the bid meeting. Now, I had a prior meeting, so I was late getting in, but I got in for the last good 3/4 of an hour of it, and there was a nice attendance there. It wasn't as big as what was there for the first attendance of the meeting, but for me, I had mixed views of the meeting then, because they gave different propositions of things that people would like to see happen in the town, and there was different entitlements of what should happen and what people wanted. So there was questionnaires on each. There was a person that designated each table. He was filling out the signs, and the group were chatting at each of these individual slides that were shown on the screen. And at the end, then, it was what the one person from that table was given a chance to speak on what he saw. So I suppose for me, the biggest thing that came out of it on the meeting was that the safety on the streets, that was number one. That was number one, that Clonmel has to be made safe. Like, we all know Clonmel isn't safe. It's not a safe town. There's too much going on. There's a lot of drug dealing, drug addiction, and anti-social behaviour, the whole lot. And it has been going on for a number of years. And, like, again, we're going to go back here to the lack of guard, the presence, and the whole lot. And there is. And that's why the town is the way it is. But
so that's not really an issue for the bid company.
It's not an issue for the bid company, but
the focus will be elsewhere.
But
there.
There's an element of an app in the bid company that will look at antisocial behaviour, and they can log it and they can trace it and this and that, and it'll go to the guards. But if there's not a guard in the station to come to the street to deal with it, we're going to have the same problem. So that was the main topic that came out of every table. Signage was another one that came, like, to show the town up with signage of the good things that are in it and where to go and the whole lot. And again, the dereliction and the whole lot, like, you know, like, even if you look at today, Donald, and this vote will take place in June, and they have to get 51%, like, you know, and, like, if they don't try it, Clonmel will stay the way it is and get worse. If they do try it and try and make it better and it works, it'll be great. But, like, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of hard work. The dereliction is going to be there. And I also said as well now, not at the meeting, but the landscape of the town and the approach roads coming in has to be looked at as well. On the Fethard Road coming into town, the Cahir Road, the Cashel Road, we have the Waterford Road. All the landscape of them have to come in and make our town look as a warm and welcoming town as we enter into our towns. It's going to be difficult. I'd like to see that it would work, but as I said, the biggest one for me is working and making the streets safe for the moment, because it has to be safe for the people coming into the town. And if it's not made safe, I don't think bids will work in the town of Clonmel.
Fair enough. Michael, thanks very much for joining us this morning here in studio. Like I said, we do have an ad break to take, but we will be back very shortly after this.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, welcome back into the show. Moving on to our next topic this evening is going to be parking in Cahir and the overall parking harmonisation. Now, we should have Tom Hennessey, local community activist, on the line here. He's been on social media recently to urge the public to get involved in the parking bylaws consultation, which is open until tomorrow only. It was due to close 2 weeks ago, but that got extended because there was only a few submissions, only 5 by the original deadline. Tom, good morning to you.
Morning, Donald. Law Féile Padraig Sonagwit. August. Look, it's great now to hear a new voice on Tipp FM, Donald, and you're filling big shoes there as a substitute. So
August Tuhane, Tom. Size 10s only I have, so Fran, I'll probably never get there. So Tom, tell me, look, this is affecting the whole county, and I'm not sure people are aware of it. The parking bylaws are going to change if this is passed. It could affect where you're charged and how much in towns all over the county. Obviously, you want to talk to us about Cahir. What are the proposed changes that are going to happen in the town?
Yeah, look, it's going to be a seismic, in my opinion, a seismic blow to Cahir, not just the businesses, but also I think the tourism, which is going so well there with visitors to the castle. So it's going to mean that the 2 hours of free parking, what they're saying, is going to be gone just with the stroke of a pen. And they're talking about 20 minutes parking. Now, you go in there, say you're someone in their 60s or 70s, you drive in there now at the moment into Cahir, you have 2 hours free parking. You can take your time, you can call into all the lovely shops, you can do whatever you want, go for a cup of coffee, and you have no pressure. It's going to take the comfort out of shopping in Cahir, and it's hard to understand, Donald, when something is going so well, why would they try and, throw a spanner in the works? Now, I understand, like, they're talking about the council have to balance their books, and they're trying to harmonise the parking throughout the county. But why, we seem to have millions for, as I said before, we seem to have millions for foreign problems. It's time now that we really start looking after our own towns, our own people, and spending the money where it really matters. So with the 20 minutes they're proposing, you'd have to go to one of these machines and put in your registration plate, go back then, put your ticket on your dash. Now, they'll probably say there's an app going to be for that, but look, I know my own parents, listen, I'm only 50 and I struggle with some of the apps, but my own parents wouldn't be that off, and that generation that grew up without the internet. So it's going to take out of that 20 minutes, you could say maybe it could take 5 or 6 minutes to do that. Then you're rushing down to the butcher's there, and then you can't meet Mary for the cup of coffee or whatever. So it's hard to fathom. Now, it doesn't surprise me, Donald. There seems to be, especially with Tipperary County Council. Now, I called out the councillors, the sitting councillors. We had a shameful another increase in rates for the second time in 2 years. So 10% the rates on all small businesses have gone up in Tipperary. And Donald, in the current climate where you're reading about it every day, it's so hard to run a business. I'm talking to shopkeepers. Like yesterday morning, I called into a number of the lads in Cahir there, and we had a great discussion. It's up on my Facebook page there, Tom Hennessey, and it's on my TikTok at Tipperary Fenian. But like the intelligence of these people that many of them have ran their business for over 20 years. But imagine going to what I call it an attack on their businesses and not even call a meeting or have a consultation. Now, it's been an abysmal performance from the sitting councillors in the Cahir LEA area, apart from one who has put up on Facebook and urged people, in fairness, to go in and make submission. But the rest of them seem to be, gone for cover. And, unfortunately, Donald, this is where politics in Ireland is at present. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here, Tom. The issue with this is, this is the consultation period. And as you're saying, this is the chance when people in care can have a say. Now, the problem is they're going to have to go online to the council website and have a look at that document and see the proposed changes and see how they're going to affect their town if they're living in Cashel or Clonmel or wherever. But they need to put in a submission. It doesn't have to be an official document, but they can say to the council that, wait a minute, I don't think this is going to work. But now is the time to do it, between now and tomorrow evening.
Exactly, Donald. And I ran in the last local elections, and it was on my manifesto, because you wouldn't need to be a genius to see that this was going to happen to Cahir, where there was 2 hours free parking, because of what's been done to other towns, and it has destroyed other towns. But Bill Lundergan there in the favourite and Breed, they started the petition there started in their shop in 2000 and was the end of 2023, going into 2024. So you can call in there now today up until this evening. We'll be getting everything together and sign it there, a hard copy. But Mary Condon there of Condon's Undertakers on the main street across from the favourite, Mary did powerful work yesterday. She went around the town, and now I believe the petition has gone back into a number of other shops. So I'd urge everyone just to drop in there, sign the petition, but also it's very important to put a submission in, and the email can be found there on the county council website. But just getting back to, I have a big problem at the moment, Donald, with what's going on in our country. And as I say, we seem to have money for foreign problems and foreign causes. Now, the Cahir town badly needs a swimming pool. I also said this, but it's proven now that you should be 10 to 15 minutes is what we should, in a modern society, is all that we should be travelling to a swimming pool. But I know I'm living out in Ballyluby, and if you want to drive to the swimming pool, it's an effort, and especially with people that have kids maybe that, special needs especially, it's really important. A swimming pool is a must, but we're spending money on crazy things and I think it's time now for, especially, the councillors that are elected. I'm going to call them out here now on Tipp FM. Nail your colours to the mast there, especially in the Cahir area. Are you for holding on to what we have in Cahir, which is 2 hours free parking, or are you for possibly damaging the businesses, and not only the businesses, the tourism coming into the town, and also why should the locals have to pay out more again? And it seems to be take. So I hope that the sitting councillors will nail their colours to the mast. And as I said, we've had a shameful attack on our small towns with the increase in the rates by 10% in 2 years, and it's just not good enough. And I heard you talking there about the bid project in Clonmel. And the jury's out on that one for me, Donald, because as far as I can see, I have a business on the main street in Clonmel. I'm paying rates every year, and I've actually, straight out, there's nothing for it. And now we're being told there's a new job being created, someone that's probably going to be on upwards of 100,000, and this is all, it's a kind of, you actually couldn't write this, Donald, because when you say to yourself, when a town like the main street in Clonmel is gone as shook as it is with all the empty buildings, I also did a video on that, why not say to the existing ratepayers, right, we're cancelling rates here now, and we're also going to give you an hour's free parking, but it seems to be take, but if you keep going back to the same well, eventually it's going to run dry, and that's why we're seeing record numbers of businesses closing, Donald. So that's my issue at the moment, and I think councillors get elected, and I think the day is gone where you should be getting elected for cutting grass, planting daffodils, turning up at the opening of an envelope. I think if you get elected, and our forefathers fought hard to get us freedom, and if you get elected to go in there in your area and represent an area, you should be fighting on your back for real causes. And it's what's going to happen in Cahir, if this goes ahead, we're going to have a lovely, tidy town, but we're going to have no businesses in it, you know. And is that the footfall is so important, Donald, and it's a proven fact that the biggest threat to town centres is the big parking on the edges of towns. As Siobhan Capel said yesterday, people will just drive into Clonmel there and they can park in the poppy field, and Cahir will you know.
Yeah. Look, that this is an issue all over the country, but call there, Tom, for the councillors and the locals to take action on this, to have a look at these plans and see what's going on. Tom, thanks very much for joining us this morning. I am up against another ad break, so great to talk to you.
Can I just say as well, Donald, that the St. Patrick's Day is coming up, and look, I'm going to Tomas McConmara, who spoke at our commemoration here, the Sean Hogan commemoration 2 years ago, and he said there's a coordinated government-led attempt to, if not forget, but distort the memory of our past where it's unrecognisable. Now, that's a big statement, but at the moment, we see the shameful poster that was done there down in Shannon, St. Patrick's Day, and everything and anything is front and centre, apart from what the day is about. We've one day at the moment in Ireland, St. Patrick's Day, that's for Ireland, and that's the way it should be. And we have to remember what Padraig Pearse said, not merely Irish, but Gaelic as well. And there's also an attack at the moment on our tricolour, and our tricolour flag must be the most attacked flag in history, because the last stage of the fight for our freedom it was, you know, people were afraid to fly it, they were afraid to put up the proclamations. But now we have MEPs such as Cynthia Nivorku, the Fianna Fáil MEP, making outrageous statements about if you see a tricolour flying, it's saying Ireland is full. So I'm calling on everyone, not just on St. Patrick's Day, fly your flag 24/7 and be proud of who we are as a people, because we are, our culture, our nation is under attack, and you have to give it to the next generation what our forefathers went out and fought and died for. And I thought I was on longer this morning, Donald, so I just wanted to get that bit in, because
look, we all hope that there is a big celebration of Irishness and St. Patrick and everything coming up this weekend and for the next few days. Tom, I do have to go. Thank you very much for joining us. We have to go to an ad break. So
we have our 1916 commemoration at 6:30 in Cahir. I hope to see you all, Donald. Thanks very much.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tom. Okay, we better go to the ad break. Slán, Tom, and we'll be back after this.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip today on 1800 938 007.
Now, welcome back to Tip Today, and we mentioned St. Patrick's Day there, and we are going to do a roundup of some of the parades on over the next few days on the show today. I'm joined now, I hope, by Dan Harty. Dan, good morning.
Very good morning to you, Donald.
Thank you very much. And Dan, you're involved with the Thurles Parade. Tell me some of the details. Is it going to be similar enough to recent years?
Yeah, that's correct, Donald. The Thurles St. Patrick's Day Parade is going to be on Tuesday the 17th this year, next Tuesday. The parade itself should be passing through Liberty Square at about 2:30, all going well. There will be entertainment in the square from about 1:30. We'll have some Irish traditional music on the stage, and people are invited to come into the town for that. Look, we've put a lot of work in as a committee over the last couple of weeks. Evelyn Nevin is our chairperson this year. I'd just like to mention Johnny Keenan, who was our outgoing chairperson, who resigned from the committee there last year. He's put many years into the committee, into the parade in Thurles to make sure it was a success over the years. And we have a new committee, as I said, headed up by Evelyn Nevin and myself as secretary. We have Kieran and Niha and the committee as well, and many others who have helped out. So look, we've put a lot of work in terms of fundraising over the last couple of weeks, and in terms of organising and getting the entries in for today. So we've up to 30 entries in the parade for this year. We'll have some entertainment in the square, face painters, St. Patrick will be there, a number of other characters. And it should be a great day, all dependent on the weather, of course. So hopefully we get a good day next Tuesday.
Yeah, it's probably a bit far away to be trusting the weather forecast yet, Dan. But hopefully. Were you still looking for people to get involved, Dan? Is there still a shortage? I know volunteering is an issue. People have such busy lives these days. Is there still chance for people to get involved with you?
Yeah, that's it. Donald, I suppose we put out a call this week. We were short on volunteers, I suppose, but a lot of people have actually come forward over the last couple of days. But we're still asking people, anyone that's interested, to contact myself on Facebook or Evelyn and Nevin. You'll find her page as well. If you want to send us a private message there, we'll get in contact with the details. There's still time as well for anybody, any entries, any clubs or community groups in the Thurles area that would like to be part of it. We'd be able to accommodate you, or we're still accepting donations as well, of course. You can do that through the Thurles Tourist Office as well. I suppose just another announcement there, just on the day itself, we're just asking in terms of parking that people don't park on the square. We will be putting up crowd control barriers all along the square, and any cars parked there will be asked to move on. So if people will just bear that in mind for next Tuesday, to make things easier just in terms of setting up the parade for today.
Yeah, very good. How has the take-up been in terms of groups getting involved? Is that slipping a little bit, or are the groups still there and still involved?
Most groups are still happy to get involved. I suppose people leave it to the last minute, so you'd be kind of worried when you're looking at numbers. But over the last couple of weeks, most of the groups that were usually involved have gotten on board. So we're hoping it will be a very good parade this year, and we'll match other years. So we're happy enough with that side of things.
Very good. We'll be looking forward to it then, Dan. Patrick's Day is a big thing for you, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think it's very important to keep up the tradition. It's a long-running tradition in Thurles. I think people will be disappointed to see it drop. So I think you see the amount of people that will get involved. So I think there was over 2,000 people turned up in the square last year. So look, it's an important tradition to keep going. I think people, there's a demand for it, and it's a positive thing. I think that people's sense of pride in Irish culture and in our nationhood is a thing to be proud of, and people come out to show that on the day, and I think that's something a tradition that we need to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. The crowds were great. I was there last year, and in fact the crowds have been great for the last couple of years that I've been at the parade in Thurles. So let's cross our fingers for the weather, Dan, and we'll look forward to it. Thank you very much for coming on with us this morning.
No problem, Donald, and thanks to your listeners, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you very much. Now, we are coming up against News with Pat, which is on the way, but first we'll have Brisha Bjork.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24111.
Now, welcome back to the second hour of the show. Of course, the main story in all, as I mentioned, in all of the newspapers this morning and all across our headlines, all across our bulletins, is the American and Israeli war in Iran. Donald Trump making headlines again. He's told reporters that the war will end soon, but then he also said that it will end when he thinks that he's ready. He seems to be vacillating between whether it's a war or an excursion. When he was asked to explain himself, he said it was both. Some of that sounds a little bit like a Putin special military operation to me. I'm joined now by former Irish Army soldier and defence analyst and author Declan Power. Declan, good morning.
Morning, Donald. How are you?
I'm good, Declan. Look, it's hard to know what's going on with Trump, but can you give us a quick overview of how you see things going at this stage, almost 2 weeks in now to the conflict in the Middle East?
Well, look, the normal rules have been, rule book has been torn up and thrown out the window with regards to these things. It's interesting, Donald, you mentioned Putin, who has been a thorn in everyone's side for the last while. But there's a degree of predictability. I mean, when Putin invaded Ukraine, regardless whatever he wanted to call it, it was very clear what he wanted to do. He wanted to completely dominate and destroy the integrity of the statehood of Ukraine. Trump and Israel, what they're at with regard to Iran, the goalposts keep changing. I mean, first it was to do back in June of last year, it was to do with limiting their ability to develop their nuclear energy, such as it was, into to weaponize it and to develop launch platforms. Then it was to do with regime change, mixed with a variety of nebulous things. I suppose the best way you could describe it is that it's defanging Iran as a regional power in the area. And I think that's probably what Israel's primary objective was. I mean, if you look at it from Israel's perspective, I mean, if you just look at it from October the 7th, the atrocity they suffered then, they know that Iran was a significant facilitator of that atrocity in terms of the training, intelligence and support they would have given Hamas. And that Iran have been the main bulwark of support to Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthi rebels and anyone else that would see Israel as their enemy. So it was totally in Israel's interest and part of their target list, if you like, to want to completely limit Iran's ability to trouble them again. And I think it was through their persuasion that they got Trump involved. I think Trump looked at it as a chance to flex muscle in a region that the US wanted to be dominant. It's part of his administration's policy of flexing their
showing that he's the strong man. Power. But is it clear, Declan, that he was manipulated into this by Israel? I've been reading about that. Was it a 4-year operation where they hacked all the traffic cams in Tehran to track the movements of bodyguards and security personnel? And when they knew that the supreme leader was going to be in such a place with leadership, they just managed to walk Trump into this whole thing.
No, I don't think it's as simplistic as that at all. And when you listen to a lot of the mainstream media reports, they try and present certain things as a fait accompli and in a very black and white fashion. And in my experience of any of this kind of activity, when it was served abroad, it really happens in grey areas. There's elements of truth, but it's a lot messier and less organised than one would think when it comes to trying to either manage conflict or limit conflict or anything like that. But go back to what you say there. One thing is for sure. There is a high level, the US and the Israelis in particular, have a high level of intelligence penetration in Iran and have done for some time. And they're leveraging that now. They would have cultivated agents of influence as well as agents of information throughout Iranian society. And what I mean by that, it's an important differentiation in clandestine operations. Agents of information are the standard what most people would know as spies, and they could be at all kinds of levels. Most often these are people not in terribly influential levels. They would be maybe the personal assistant or the executive assistant or secretary to somebody in a high level, or maybe somebody working in a servile capacity. It could even be the gardener of one of the leading government ministers. And they've been suborned, and over time they've been cultivated, and they're just a small part of the jigsaw. Their efficiency is based on how well they're handled by their case officer, who's a professional intelligence officer. Then you've got people who do inhabit very senior positions, and they've been suborned for whatever reason, and they act on instructions from their handler to influence the policy of the government in certain ways. So how would this work in the Iranian situation to benefit the Israeli and American attacks? For example, the in-depth knowledge they had of the movements of senior levels of government, the strike that hit when a number of key figures were together that killed Khamenei and a number of other senior military leaders. That was a mixture of agents of information that they were able to pass on their movements and agents of influence that were able to facilitate the meeting. Because now you can see what's happening since that. I mean, Khamenei hasn't been seen. There's been a lot of speculation as to his injuries. Never mind his injuries. The reason you haven't seen this guy in public is because he and his entourage know that the first chance the US and Israelis get, they will take him out and whoever is with them. And they have demonstrated their capacity to do that kind of forensic targeting in that way. However, despite their ability to do that. And that forensic ability is probably what lured the Trump administration to get further embedded into this adventure, so to speak. It doesn't change anything unless you put boots on the ground. If you want regime change, you've got to be able to follow up that level of degradation through airstrikes with either a conventional kinetic invasion or a clandestine operation that's coordinated to have armed bodies working against the backdrop of mass street protests. Or you have proxies such as the Kurds, who it's been speculated upon, are they going to get involved in this, who are trained, who are motivated, and if they're armed and coordinated properly with air support, they could be the game changer. But none of that is apparent, and certainly none of the chatter in the security world indicates that there has been any planning for anything like that. So if they think that we're going to change the regime through air power alone, they're being proved wrong. And the thing about it is the objectives differ, Donald, because they keep changing for Trump. And I think Trump is really only interested in the optics of this. If he can cobble together some sort of a narrative that supports this nonsense that the war is over and we've won while tankers are being targeted and burning in the Strait of Hormuz, that would probably satisfy his support base to some extent. But the reality is, for the objective for Iran is one thing and one thing alone, and that's survival. And as long as they're just being pounded from the air and they keep their key leaders out of sight, and I would say they've nailed down the circle around them to a very tight level, they can manage. There will be mistakes made, there'll be blunders, because command and control has to be so limited, because they have to assume that there are informers dotted throughout the command and control process. There will be mistakes. That's why you had announcements made that Iran wasn't going to target its neighbours anymore, and then missiles still flew into different areas. Mid-level commanders are not getting the directions they need. But that doesn't stop Iran from continuing to exist. And crucially, the Iranian Republican Guard are still able to keep a grip on the population. The idea that the population could rise up and confront heavily armed, well-led, well-trained troops who are highly ideologically connected to the Iranian regime was a nonsense. And it was proved in January when that same organisation mowed down their own people in the thousands.
Yeah, just to put down a protest that wasn't even politically motivated. It was economic, I believe, at the time. And Declan, have they, the leadership, I mean, now, obviously they still have boots on the ground to suppress the population, but have they literally gone underground into bunkers? Is that what's happening in their, just to protect themselves? Because obviously if they put their head above the parapet, to use a slightly battle analogy, they'll be targeted.
Absolutely, yeah. It could be bunkers, or it could be a variation of that. What the most important thing that they would have done now is to cut down the chain of information about their movements. So there's a very trusted, small, tight circle around the key leaders, and they're communicating through buffer zones. Without being direct with one another, and their movements, knowledge of their movements and their locations are extremely limited. They mightn't even necessarily be in bunkers as such, because it might be too obvious. But they're in places that would be least expected, and they're what they're relying on. One of the big advantages in that part of the world is that when things get tight, well, it's a common thing within, this isn't an Arabic society, but in societies of that nature, are the family networks. And the tight family network, and a little bit like what people, your listeners, might have seen when they've watched films like The Godfather. The tight family network is the most secure bulwark against this kind of penetration. It's not perfect. And it has happened, and there are cases of Mossad, the Israeli External Clandestine Operations Service, have been very effective in penetrating these things. But this is what they were doing at the moment, and certainly avoiding any public appearances. They're counterbalancing the need to bolster public confidence that everything is normal with the need to survive. The need to survive is paramount at the moment, and they know that. They're proving themselves to be quite clever players of the game, if I can use that term. They know their limitations, they know their strengths. They know that Trump is controlled, and we've seen the pattern of this. We've all learned a lesson here. If there's one thing alone that controls Trump's decisions, it's the markets. Yeah. And the markets are going to end this. And Trump can say what he likes. and he can spin and weave his nonsense to his MAGA base. But we should also remember that the part of the problem here, and we may see this emerge yet, is that Trump's base is not completely uniform. One element of it are very supportive of Israel at all costs, and that has kind of led to the kind of unthinking, unquestioned support of Israel throughout the atrocities of Gaza and where we are now. But the other element are quite supportive of the Gulf states. And, a lot of old school Republican Party grandees have had very close links to the Saudis, to the Qataris and others. And they may start to pull away from Trump as their client states start to feel the pain. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out. But make no mistake about it, we're still in for a bit of a bumpy ride.
Yeah, how long can the Revolutionary Guard and the new Supreme Leader, how long, when they're operating in the way that you're saying, basically in hiding, how long can they maintain their ability to strike back and cause this disruption? Like Trump has said they've nothing left, but yet we saw all those ships targeted in the Strait of Hormuz yesterday.
Yeah, but this just proves further the ignorance of the man when it comes to geopolitical matters and to defence matters. You see, they're not attacking Trump. They're not trying to target the US, or indeed, well, they're targeting Israel largely for cosmetic reasons and to disrupt life for ordinary Israelis and make life difficult for them. But what they're doing is they're focusing on the targets that they can get at and that the area they dominate, for example, the Strait of Hormuz, and it's having an impact. So they're striking at proxy targets, if you like, that are well within their ability to continue striking against. So even if their ballistic missiles start to dwindle, which I suspect will start to happen at a certain point, because it's not just about how many of those missiles. What the US would have concentrated on would have been attacking the missile launching sites and likely location sites. But the Iranians still have an awful lot of the various types of drones, some that are quite simple to operate, and you can launch them from the back of a suburban house or a garage or somewhere like that, and move about from place to place. Those kinds of things, and the other types of drones that we're starting to see emerge that are submersible and can be used at sea. They're cheap, they're cheerful, if I can use that term. It's been proven in the Ukrainian war how diverse and utilitarian they are. And they can continue to wreak havoc and create a zone of instability in one of the major shipping lanes that the world relies upon.
We've kind of forgotten about the Ukrainians, Declan, haven't we? Sorry to cut across you, but
go ahead.
I see that they're trying to build a bit of kudos in terms of their drone expertise after being at war with Russia for so long. And in fact, they have been defending against Iranian-built drones, I understand. So how are things going for Ukraine at the moment? And can they use this new conflict as a bit of leverage?
Well, Donald, it's interesting that you mentioned it. I'm glad you did, because I won't say they're the biggest losers, but I'd say President Zelensky. I'd say if there are two people that annoy him more than Putin, it's probably Trump and Netanyahu, because of their activities, they have undoubtedly lengthened the war in Ukraine. So where is Ukraine at the moment? Ukraine is holding its own in this war, but it's just making it harder for them. I mean, this war against Iran. It was unnecessary. It's I suppose the nicest thing I could say about it. Aside from being illegal, it was unnecessary. Unlike Ukraine, which is both a war of survival and meets the requirements of the UN Charter, it is a war of defence. It was an illegal invasion. It's part of the reason that Ireland and the European Union are supporting the Ukrainians. And, the thing about it is, in this country and in Europe in general, we shouldn't lose sight of that, because we do tend to get significantly distracted by the Middle East. And even though that, as I said, we're in for a bumpy road, anyone that might have been listening to some of the national stations this morning would have heard discussions about energy. We're fairly fortunate. Our energy comes via the UK from Norway. So they're two important allied countries for us. We can rely on them. The flow of energy is more... It's more confirmed, shall you say, than for other parts of Europe. Some of our further south or in the Baltic states. So what we do need to keep our mind on, particularly within Europe, is that Ukraine does not go ignored because of this. And you're right, they've learned a lot of lessons in the battlefield, having to adapt. And where this is going to become important for us, and we shouldn't forget it, we've got the European Union presidency coming down the road. Regardless of what happens in Iran, you're going to have Russian interference in that. It's not because they give it much of a toss about Ireland, but Ireland is part of something that they do care about, and that's the European Union. And they're going to want to embarrass it and try and derail it. So I doubt we'll have anything of a fatal nature, but we will have things that will disrupt and degrade our services. And this all comes back to the war in Ukraine, the instability that is causing within Europe. Now, just to put this on a broader geopolitical chessboard, so again, the ignorance of the Trump administration and understanding geopolitics, they've gone into a war that was unnecessary, that has now kind of further split the Western powers. Look at the traditional allies that would normally stand beside the US in a situation like this. The UK, it's unprecedented. They have backed off and been insulted for doing so. The other European allies, Spain has been the most vociferous, but the French and the Germans aren't one bit happy about this. Australia, Canada, and the other ones, they're all keeping their distance on this. Now, at the same time, you have an emboldened Russia, which is delighted with what's going on in Iran, and you have a China that is eyeing this in a way to build its own, to extract its own power benefits from it, not just in terms of the fact that it only seems to be Chinese tankers that are transiting the Strait of Hormuz with any degree of safety, but also we can't forget the moral imperative here. Whatever is happening there, if the Chinese decide to make a move in their own backyard against Taiwan or some of the other smaller states, including Japan, that they have been threatening and aggressing against, there's no moral authority of the US to be able to talk that down.
No, that's gone completely now, isn't it? And tell me, absolutely. Look, we saw the attack on an American-based company. It wasn't targeting Ireland. Stryker, believed to be by Iranian hackers. We probably have a bit of a target on our back as with the EU presidency coming up, Declan. Are we likely to see more of that from Russian-backed hackers, from Iranian hackers? Like, is there going to be material impacts apart from the financial effects here in Ireland?
The simple answer to that, Donald, is yes, but it's not if. It's already happening. I would talk regularly with people in the security services here and in the corporate security world, whereby Irish companies are being regularly aggressed against and suffering various types of incursions. In fact, this isn't a state secret by any stretch of the imagination. You might remember there before Christmas, the think tank, the IIEA, the Institute for International and European Affairs, and the Deloitte consultancy group launched a report that included extensive material from members of IBEC talking about these very things, talking about incursions of a cyber nature, but even attempts to penetrate some of these companies by people trying to be recruited into them. This is an ongoing thing. Our Irish tech industry has been targeted for the last number of years. It just hasn't been grabbing public attention. There haven't been massive denials of service, such as what happened with the HSE, for example. But it is happening. So in answer to your question, I'm sure that will ramp up in some way. And you could have a situation during the European Union presidency whereby you might have a number of things that on their own are not terribly debilitating, but happening together could cause severe problems for the government, such as, for example, a step up in maybe cyber attacks on mid-level state services that are needed for, it could be the HSE again, it could be an attack on the energy administration of the energy network. You could have some sort of a threat emerge to our energy interconnector between Ireland and Scotland, not actual definite damage to it, and add to that then a step up of disinformation that brings people onto the streets, like we saw in the riots. And,
absolutely. So all of this is happening, and it's kind of like a sort of a hybrid Cold War era we're entering into, Declan. It's frightening thoughts. Hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to you again about all this. Apologies, we do have to cut it short there as we're up against some ads, Declan. But thanks a million for joining us. Your insight is very telling, and we will talk to you again. Thanks very much.
Take care.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, as I say, we're doing the rounds of some of the towns across the Premier County, talking about our parades coming up. Now, there has been a death in the Brown family, Martin Brown's older brother, so he is not available today, but he did want to get the word out. So I spoke to Martin Brown about the parade in Cashel and the final details for that just yesterday, and we can bring you some of that interview now, just to get those details out there.
Yeah, thanks, John. Look at the Patrick's Day festivities themselves will start at 2 o'clock on the plaza. We have local bands. Offhand, I can only think of Ferns and Clr are two of the acts that will take place from 2 o'clock up to 4:30 when the parade actually starts.
Right, and of course this is Saturday now. It is Saturday, not Sunday, that you're doing it.
Yeah, and just let people give them an idea why we've gone Saturday. Last year it was on the 16th. If we go Patrick's Day this year, we were going to be clashing with 5 other parades. If we'd gone on the Sunday, we were going to be clashing with 3 others. So when we sat down as a committee, we went through all this. But we sent out feelers in, and we got 2 bands from Dublin. There's the Clondalkin Merchant Youth Band, and the Finglas Concert and Merchant Band. By moving to the south, they have been able to come. Now they're going to come down and take part in our parade, and then they're back in Dublin for their own parade on the Tuesday. We nearly had one of the American bands. We were very close to getting them, but Croke Park intervened and offered them a tour of Croke Park, so we've lost out there. But we're in contact already with American bands to maybe take part in Cashel's parade next year, Donald.
Yeah, that's what people sometimes forget, Martin. This is an all-year-round organisation thing, isn't it?
It's an all-year-round, exactly. If you go this Saturday or the Tuesday or the Sunday, there's very few businesses open. So we felt that if we're getting football in, that by going on the Saturday, all businesses are open. By going the new route, and the new route has been in consultation with the Gardaí, and they're very happy that instead of trying to man all the junctions done, because you know yourself trying to get volunteers, the new route keeps everything open more or less all day long, so there is no hold up or no businesses going losing out as such. Our job is to get the football in, and we encourage, like I said, we encourage everybody to support the local businesses. They have been actually brilliant to us, and look, there's too many to mention. They will be acknowledged on billboards and on our Facebook page and all that. Another thing that we have again this year, Donald, is the sensory area. We had it for the first time last year and there was a success. We have it again this year for people with additional needs. Where it's going to be this year is in the front of Tesco, the shopping centre on the Cahir Road. We're asking people to, I'll give my number in a minute, to contact me to book a place in it, and places are running out quick because we're kind of confined to space again this year a small bit, so we're kind of saying we can cater for 20 people with additional needs and family members. So if people wish to have a spot, they can contact me on 087 407 6461. And like always, we're also looking for more people to take part in the parade. If they wish, they can contact us on the Facebook page. And the same if people are out there, if they have a couple of hours to spare, to help us with volunteering and stewarding.
So it is still open for people to get involved. You can always do it a few extra hands.
Yeah. Still open to Friday evenings for people to take part in it or to volunteer. And look, we hope that, as you said yourself there, it's hard to get people involved, and it's getting harder every year. And eventually, if we don't get volunteers, Patrick's Day parades or anything else will not survive. So we're hoping that people would come on board with us to help volunteer.
Okay, and tell me, speaking of getting people on board, Martin, look, you know, because you've been on talking about it, there was a bit of a rift and a bit of dissent around the town among a few of the businesses. Has all that been ironed out, Martin? Is everybody on board this weekend?
Yeah, look, as far as we're concerned, we've been to the businesses. There was, we'll probably hold our hands up, maybe a bit of miscommunication at the start, Donald. But once we've explained it to people, the chamber and different groups, and especially the businesses, they have come and support. And like I said, the extra support we've gotten this year has been absolutely brilliant. They see what we're aiming for is to try and keep the town open as much as possible all day long, that all businesses can get benefit from the football that we hope, fingers crossed, weather fine, nothing else on, that they will come to Cashel and see the fine town that Cashel is and what Cashel has to offer. By moving it a couple of days before, and I can understand some people's frustration that Patrick's Day is on the 17th, but if you want to have a bigger parade and these type of bands, you just need to probably move and be a bit flexible.
Yeah, and for people then coming in, we've talked about the traffic disruption and stuff, but for the people looking to come in and get the most out of enjoying the parade and all the events you've planned, what's the advice to them? What time should they start coming in, and where should they go and where should they park?
Well, look, we advise people to come. The events are starting at 2 o'clock in the plaza. Any time from that. All the car parks are open at that stage, Donald. Look, I'll give a quick rundown if you don't mind. The top of the main street will close at 4 o'clock, and all traffic that's coming in from Holy Cross, Borlahan, Dublin side, if they're going to Tipp Town or Golden, they will either be directed down by the butt of the rock up to Brosnan's Corner and out the Golden Road there. If they wish, they can go up Friar Street, up to McDonald's roundabout, get onto the motorway, get off at Junction 9 and come in for the Amniel roundabout and turn left, and they're on to Golden, Tipperary. It takes, I've done it myself yesterday, it takes at a minimum an extra minute and a half, 2 minutes, instead of going through the town. Like I said, the Amniel roundabout will be closed at 3:30 until after the parade clears Jura beds. And every junction that we pass then after the start of the parade will reopen, done. So any traffic from 3:30 on that's looking to come out the Cahir Road will be directed again, like I said, the same way, back away from the Cahir Road area to either the McDonald's roundabout or the Brosnan's Corner. All the car parks, Friar Street, Main Street, the car park at Tesco, all of that will be open up until at the very latest 4:10 maybe. And like I said, the parade starts at 4:30, and as the parade passes any of them junctions and housing estates or shopping areas, the road opens up directly behind us. Traffic can't come into town, obviously, after us, but they'll be able to go back out to use the ring road both ways.
Yeah. Okay, great.
So come early, enjoy the music and support the businesses is our call, and there's no great disruptions with any of them.
Great. Look, I haven't checked the weather forecast yet. What's it looking like, Martin?
The next couple of days are not to be good. Saturday's to be cold, done. But fingers crossed, look at we won't mind the cold. It's when it's wet and cold, and especially for the young people that are marching from the schools and the sports clubs, it's hard on them if they're getting wet and cold. Whereas if it's just cold itself, it's easy to wrap up.
Absolutely, sure. A bit of cold never hurt a Paddy's Day parade, sure. Isn't that what we all remember? Grand. Look, that's great, Martin. Good luck with it all. And again, my condolences to the family.
Okay, thank you, Don.
Thanks, Martin.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1-800-938-007. Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tipptoday@tippfm.com.
Now, welcome back to Tipp today. Donald Doyle in for Fran today and tomorrow. Fran, very busy man this weekend. Now, we're into our regular slot with interior design, and I'm delighted to be joined by Karen Prendergast. Karen, good morning. You have a lot more experience on Tipp today than I do.
I don't know about that, but I think I've been coming in, give or take, 25 years.
That is a good stretch.
So it's a good stretch. But anyway, everybody's always so lovely and welcoming in here. I love coming in, actually. I'd miss it if I'm not coming in. And the good thing about any of the slots that anybody takes, like myself, that gets a chance to talk, we know probably what we're talking about because it's our work, you know. And I actually love my work as an interior designer. I'm 30 years this year doing it. So I've been around the block.
That's a lot of experience.
It's a lot of experience.
And you've seen a lot coming and going in terms of fads, fashions, and even in terms of, I presume, the buildings that you're working with.
Yeah, definitely. And things, colours change, ideas change, but the fundamentals really stay the same. So when I'm going into whether it's a one-off consultation, well, every even if you know, whatever jobs I do, because I do project management as well, they still all start with a one-off consultation, a phone call first, just to get to know the person, what they might want, and then we book in a consultation maybe. But I think personally, when you're spending any amount of money, the basics need to be right. So what do I mean by the basics? I mean, today we're talking about colour, but the basics aren't colour. They're where you're spending your most money. So for instance, if you're putting down new floors in your house, whether it's timber floors or carpet or tiles or whatever in your bathroom, because bathrooms, once upon a time we could do up a bathroom for 5,000. Now your average bathroom is 10 to 13 plus.
Yes. There's no small jobs anymore when you're bringing in builders, is there?
You know, no, the cost of everything has risen. Not dramatically, but it has risen. But a lot of people wouldn't have done a job, we'll say, maybe in 10, 15, 20, 25 years. The kids are grown up, they're finished college, they're thinking of ripping out their kitchen, they're thinking of ripping out their bathroom, and they haven't done work in so long that they haven't priced work.
Yeah.
So they don't understand what budget is involved. So I would always say to everybody, as an interior designer, the basic fundamentals, that's where you spend your money. And after that then, you know, obviously colour. When somebody walks into your house or room or your home, the first thing they're going to notice is the colour. But from my experience, the last thing that you should be starting with is the colour if you're spending more than buying paint. So if you're changing your floor, if you're changing some bigger pieces of furniture, if you're gutting a kitchen, if you're thinking of repainting your kitchen units and the whole lot, there's a lot of other aspects of a room that have to be taken into account other than paint.
But should you be taking the colour of what you're putting in terms of the tiles and the couch? Is that what you mean?
Yes,
that you need to work with that?
Work with that. And often now, when I go to clients, they'll have Pinterest or they'll have Facebook, Instagram, they'll have pictures gathered that they like on their phone, and they'll show me those, which is brilliant. Whereas many moons ago, I didn't have that from clients, but they'll have an idea. Are they going down the top route, which is kind of a stony colour in the house? Are they going to, do they want some greys? People are saying to me all the time, oh, grey is going out of fashion a little bit. It is and it isn't. Grey is a basic standard colour. It's always going to be there. It's been on the charts forever. But what we did see for the last 5, 6, 7 years was an awful lot of influx of grey coming in furniture, tiles, flooring, that kind of thing. The emphasis was probably 50% that way and 50% natural, whereas the emphasis on grey now might be less 10% than the 50%, but it's still there and it's there all the time and it's very timeless. So people say to me, oh, I put in a grey kitchen and I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry, I said, because grey is always going to be there, you know. So colour, exactly what you said, colour is really important. But and colour, I suppose I might just read off some of the notes that I've made for today on colour, if that's okay, you know. So colour is very influential in interior design. So long before furniture is chosen and accessories are added, the colour begins shaping the mood of the space. So what do I mean by that? So if you wanted a nice, relaxing sitting room, the chances are you might go for a slightly deeper to darker colour in there if the room allowed itself to be that way. If it was more a lounge area, an evening area that you go and relax in, that maybe that could be your sitting room, and you have a living area off your kitchen that's going to be more for during the day, maybe working from home, the kids doing their homework, all that kind of thing. So very much as an interior designer, and talking about colour and design, I always take the people in the house itself, the people in the house, the use of the rooms, what their lifestyle is like, and how they need to use the house. And last but very least, I never ask about budget, to be honest. When I'm having a consultation, it's all about, right, what have you? What's wrong about it? What do you need? What can we do to change it? And again, a lot of people, when I'm on a consultation for the first time, they're unsure of the cost of repainting a kitchen or ripping out a kitchen and taking up the tiles or buying furniture. And I say, ballpark X amount of money will get that job done for you. You know, before they ever go get prices or anything like that, I'll have a ballpark, because I'm doing
you'd have the consultation first, and at the end of that say, look, what we've talked about is going to be somewhere in this.
Even if they never got me again, but just for them to spend, I'm saying, if you're going to do the kitchen, take out the kitchen, put down new tiles, get new kitchen appliances and the whole lot, your ballpark, we're just going to say 20,000 to get all of that kitchen ripped out, tiles and everything, and back in again, that kind of way, you know. But colour is really important. So it's not just the finishing touch, it is a fundamental part of the room. But I would always say take the more expensive items into consideration first with the colour, because the colour will come. I could go into some houses, there's 15, 20, 30 colour swatches up on the wall. And I'm not exaggerating saying 30. And they just get so bogged down, they don't know what to do. And when I come in, I'll probably, once I hear the story or see what they're doing, there'll be one or two colours that will be suitable, that will be the right palette and the right tone. And that's my job. That's my job, you know. So creating mood and atmosphere is really important, and you can do that with colour. So different colours naturally evoke different emotional responses. So soft neutrals and warm tones can make a room feel more calm, relaxed and welcoming, while brighter colours can energise a space and can bring a sense of vibrancy and life to it. So again, different colours and different tones give a room a different feel. So for example, gentle shades in living rooms can often help create a comfortable and inviting environment where people can unwind with deeper tones. In dining rooms, sitting rooms, they can add warmth, intimacy and a sense of elegance. So I would say again, be careful in selecting colours that suit the purpose of each room, and as a designer I can help people do that. And another thing that is a little out of fashion now is, when I left school when I was 18, I went working for a painting contractor for 16 and a half years. I helped him run his business. That's how I kind of got into the interior design. Right. Then I went to college and did a diploma for 2 years in Dublin, Institute of Design. But back then, and I was mixing paint very early on that job, everybody had a different colour in their room. There was no such thing as the one colour would flow throughout, or one colour in different tones would flow throughout. So dark green was really big in, soft peach was in, oranges were in, deep rich creams were in. So every room back then in the house was definitely going to be a different colour. If I had suggested, God, you put the soft peach now in 3 rooms, not a hope would it happen. Whereas now,
and do you look back then even at those colours and say, oh my God, what were we thinking? Or is that stuff likely to come around again?
No, but I'll tell you why, and it's exactly how you started off the conversation earlier on. Those colours were in keeping with the fabrics that were out there, with the couches that were out there, and with the flooring was out there. So does interior design evolve? Do colours evolve? Do they change a bit like fashion for clothes? Not as fast. So back then, when you went to look at curtains and blinds and order them and look at timber floors and all, they were much more natural. They were pines, they were oak, they were dark, they were yellow, you know. So definitely colours in interior designs are fashionable, and I suppose that's what I would be saying to people. Fashion isn't always is going to give you the longevity.
Yeah, I know.
It's not going to give you the longevity, you know. So be careful. Look at your room as a whole. Make a plan. before you decide on a colour, and go have a look around in the shops. Bring your sizes of all your rooms with you, whether you're buying paint or whether you're buying furniture. Talk to the people that are working in the shops, because if you ask the questions, any of the shops that I deal with locally are absolutely fantastic, and they'll quantify the amount of paint that you might want for a certain room as well, if you bring in the dimensions with you and the whole lot.
Very good. And if people want, we're up against an ad break now, Karen, but if people want to know more, they should get in touch with you directly.
They should get in touch, and my contact number is 086 606 9009, and my website, Facebook and Instagram is Interior Concepts.
Okay, Karen, thanks very much for coming in to us. Sus Bioganish.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24111.
Now, welcome back to Tip Today with me, Donald Doyle, sitting in for Fran today. As I said earlier, I am on my first day in this seat and in this studio, and with all new screens and buttons, so apologies if I haven't been getting around to the texts very much. We did have a good few people texting in about the parking situation in Cahir and the parking bylaws consultation that is on at the moment and open till tomorrow. Someone coming down against Tom Hennessey and some supporting him. I think the most telling one is that someone has texted in to say there is nothing decided on parking in the county yet, so stop the spin and get on with it and make a submission. You have until tomorrow evening to check out what's being proposed and make a submission on what you would or would not like to see. Now, moving on to our next piece here. Ireland has become the latest country to announce plans to impose restrictions on social media for children under the age of 16. The government's current proposal is coming as momentum is gathering all around Europe and around the world for a social media ban for children, amid concerns that excessive screen time and other issues like bullying could harm childhood development and mental health. Australia was the first country in the world to introduce a ban last December, with the UK, France, Spain, Portugal, Germany, Norway, New Zealand, Malaysia and India all announcing that they're thinking of doing the same. So we thought we'd better go and ask the people who matter, and we've called in a few teenagers to talk to us about what they think about this whole issue. I'm joined in studio now by Paddy Corcoran, Sean Cahill and Kate Flanagan from Rockwell College, and I'm going to ask you, Paddy, to say hello to our listeners and tell us a little bit about yourself first.
Hi everyone, my name is Paddy Corcoran and I'm a fifth year student in Rockwell College, and I'm very interested in fitness, tech, AI and politics.
Tech, eh? So all this talk about social media should interest you, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and Sean, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Sean Cahill. I'm also in fifth year in Rockwell College. I suppose I'd be a lot like Paddy with kind of the same interest, or quite similar. Big into tech. I'll be quite big into social media, which would be kind of interesting to talk about later on.
Very good. We'll get into that as we go on. And Kate, how about you? Tell us a tiny bit about yourself.
Hi, so my name's Kate Flanagan and I'm a sixth year student in Rockwell, and I'm a boarder as well, and I'm interested in Irish dancing and I'm big into hockey as well.
Very good. So sporting, but does that mean that you don't spend as much time maybe as these two lads on phones and other screens?
Not necessarily. I mean, I am busy training and stuff, but I also do have time to spend on my phone as well.
Okay, very good. The main thing we want to know is what you think about a ban for, say, under 16s. It might be under 15s or whatever. Just to go around the table again, starting with you, Paddy. What do you think? Is it needed or is it unnecessary? What do you think about the fact that it's already started to come in Australia?
Well, I think it'll probably do maybe more harm than good, because obviously, like, there is the downsides to social media. Like, you've a lot of people getting addicted. There can be cyberbullying. There's also just negative impacts on your mental health as well in general. But I do think the idea to enforce it might not be possible, because, like, I think the tech companies themselves need to be regulated more, because if you have these tech companies, if they, like, in order to verify that you're over 16 to use social media, you're going to have to either have just a simple age check or do an ID check. And if it's just a simple age check, they're just going to lie about their age like they already do. Or if it's an ID check, that's a little bit risky, because then you have everyone's like IDs, their passports, their driver's license, whatever, going to these big tech companies like Meta and Oracle for TikTok and for Instagram and Facebook. And I just think that's quite a dangerous thing, because you wouldn't really want, most people don't want their data, their like very personal and private data, going to these big tech companies that aren't even Irish owned. So I just think
that's a very good point. Enforcement is going to be an issue. They are talking about different methods, using images and AI to basically guess the age based on your facial image and voice. Apparently, they can do a lot to sort of gauge how old someone might be, and it will weed some of it out. Sean, you're interested in technology. What would you do to get around a social media ban if you were faced with one?
Well, I actually am for the ban, but if I was to get around one, it would probably be as simple as just using a VPN. Because if you can just trick the app to thinking you're maybe in the United States where there wouldn't be the ban, well then the app isn't going to ask you for that ID check. So unless they can find a way to better go around VPNs and kind of work against VPNs, I don't see how that wouldn't just work.
Okay, and you said you're in for it in general. Tell me why.
Well, I suppose, like, I'll tell you myself, I actually have like a 15-minute time limit set up on Instagram and TikTok, because I noticed myself, I looked back one week and I saw I spent 13 hours on TikTok in a week, and I'm thinking, like, 13 hours is an insane amount of time, really, when you think about how much you could be doing. You know, because I suppose, me and Paddy were kind of working on a project, you know, that I could spend 13 hours on that, or I could spend, 6 hours on my homework, or even just doing other things in my life that I would actually probably benefit far more than I would with TikTok. And I think when you're young, it's very kind of, you maybe don't even think about that. You know, you just open up TikTok and you're happy to scroll away. Maybe when you get a bit older, you're kind of better able to self-regulate. But when you're only young, and like you would be under 16, I feel like you're more at the kind of behest of these companies and at the addictive nature of them.
Yeah, and there's a lot you could do in 13 hours, but I bet you can't remember a single video you saw on TikTok that week.
Exactly, yeah.
Like there are other concerns as well as just the loss of time and the loss of, movement is life sort of thing. And if we're not moving and doing stuff, it's bad for us. Kate, are kids, are teenagers, young people aware of, I suppose, the way that the recommender algorithms and the eternal scrolling can actually affect your brain chemistry, and it changes. People talk about, I don't know if I'm getting too technical here, but dopamine hits, that you get a little pleasure hit from, oh, that's a good video, I'll watch the next one, it might be just as good. Are you aware of the kind of dangers around that? Because we don't really know a lot about them yet.
Yeah, I think people are aware of how the algorithms kind of affect you and obviously show you things that you want to see. And people obviously start going on TikTok or whatever, scrolling, planning on not spending very long time on it, but then you just keep going and then you end up spending hours on it and wasting your time essentially. So
yeah, when I was young, it was snooker. Whenever the snooker was on, I'd sit down for 5 minutes, and 3 hours later I would get up and go, well, what just happened? They haven't even finished the match. But are you for or against a ban, Kate, in general?
I'd be for a ban as well in general, because I think people, like, especially social interactions aren't as good with younger people. Like, they need to be out with their friends, talking to people, out playing sport, interacting with loads of different people. But I agree with Paddy as well that actually implementing the ban would be a very difficult thing to do, because people will try their best to find ways around it. And especially if their parents aren't for it as well, they can easily set up an account themselves and their children can just use their parents' account. So it's really up to the parents, I suppose.
Yeah, I suppose there's an argument here that I know you're probably not driving yet, but we have speed limits and it's very easy to break the speed limit. You just drive a bit faster. But the idea is that it changes behaviour among people, that they know that they shouldn't and therefore they might buy into it. I suppose, what about that social interaction thing, Paddy? Like, you don't think there should be a ban, but what do you think? Are younger people and younger generations who've growing up with phones and screens, are they less able to interact with the real world around them and the real people that they might meet but might ignore?
Yeah, I think there definitely is. Like, for example, I don't know if you've heard of the term iPad kids. It's like the kids that are part of the Gen Alpha. which is just a generation behind us, and they are so like addicted to their iPads, addicted to like the likes of YouTube Shorts and TikTok and stuff, and that they're so like taken up by it that they don't really know what's going on around them. So yeah, I can definitely see that part. Like the social interaction is definitely taken away from social media, but I just think that there's also a lot of benefits as well, like to the fact that you can find out what's going on in the world a lot easier. Like that's like a neutral point of view. Like for example, like when I scroll on TikTok, I suppose I'm more on the positive side, where I can learn about what's going on in Iran and what's going on in like anywhere in the world, like, you know. And I just think that's the good part, that you can get different points of views, but definitely does take away from the social interaction.
Yeah, there is huge benefits in terms of the amount of information that's available to us, but just to keep at that point of interaction. And I know you guys would never be loitering outside of school after class, but I mentioned this to someone recently, that I drove past a bunch of students. They were waiting for school buses, and out of, I don't know, there maybe 100 or more, dotted in little groups around the place. Only 4 were actually talking to each other. 2 girls were talking to each other, and 2 lads were talking to each other further down. Every other kid I saw while waiting for the bus was on a phone. That's normal behaviour, though, is it?
No, I can see what you're saying there now. Yeah, that's definitely not good. Like, yeah. I suppose, yeah. We said 4 people were only a few that weren't.
Yeah, and there was more than 100, if not hundreds, all queued up along the street waiting for their buses. And you know, like there's an image of kids getting out of school all excited. That's done with for the day. Now I can meet my mates. I can chat. I can talk about what I'm going to do later. Maybe they were, but they weren't doing it face to face. They might have been texting someone else on their phone, but no interaction. All standing silent and looking at a screen. Do you, sorry, I'm putting it to you, but like, yeah. I'm sure you know that's what happens now, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. Like, I don't have anything to say on that, because like it is the truth. Like, you can't. And I suppose, yeah, that would be the benefit of the ban, that they wouldn't be so much like engrossed in their phones when they're waiting for something. Like, I know in our school, from 1st to 3rd year, that you're not allowed to have your phones, and I was actually very good. I actually didn't bring out my phone at all from 1st to 3rd year, but I think that actually did show more of a benefit, like that people became a lot closer from 1st to 3rd year than, because they didn't have the opportunity to be in their phones and be engrossed in their phones, so they talked to people more, and I think they were actually a lot closer as a year group as well.
Yeah, and Sean, what do you make of that? I mean, it's very easy, and social anxiety has existed. It's as old as the hills. So it's a lot easier than to pull out your phone, I should say, and see what's going on in Iran, than it might be to talk to a stranger who maybe you don't know if they want to talk to you. They might be preoccupied with something, or maybe they do want to talk.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think that it's because it's so easy to just take out your phone. I think that's bad in of itself, because it's just kind of, you're building a society of youth who just do kind of the easier thing. And then going back to what you were saying about just talking to the random stranger, okay, you can pick up TikTok and maybe you could learn a bit about Iran. But, I mean, by talking to that random stranger at the bus stop, you might be able to learn a little bit about themselves, and then you might be able to learn a little bit just about general life. Maybe if they're a little older than you, they might have some kind of information in kind of good points to give you. I just think that maybe if we keep doing just the easier thing by opening up our phones, that I think then you're losing out on a lot of kind of bigger things in life.
And Kate, do you think, I'm wondering how aware you are of how things have changed. Obviously you weren't around to see previous generations, but what do you think is the difference between how you're growing up with technology around you and maybe your parents?
I feel like with previous generations, obviously they didn't have technology, didn't have those like facilities. Like, technology in general has improved so much, and I think that has been beneficial to us, but maybe the social media and especially the AI aspect hasn't necessarily been, because in the past obviously they communicate with each other more and all of that, and you can even see now the older generation, they aren't as reliant on their phones, aren't as reliant on technology as we are. But as the world is progressing, we're becoming as a whole more reliant on using technology, so maybe then they're not as informed and as able to use that technology as well, and that's the way the world's going, so they could be struggling in that aspect as well.
Yeah, like the amount of information that's easily accessible now. Like in the old days, people used to have archives that they'd have to look up to get information instead of pulling a magic button out of your pocket or your bag to find information. But people had to remember stuff as well. You know, the average person could have reamed off 40 to 50 10-digit phone numbers without any problem. Do you know any phone numbers?
I know my parents' phone numbers. I know my own as well. But yeah, I agree that people, they don't remember stuff as easily anymore, and we're just, because we're so reliant on our phones, we don't think that we have to be able to use our brains to have to remember things, because we don't need to, essentially. So that's definitely negative from the whole thing.
Yeah. So the ban, like the idea of the ban, I suppose, is to try and limit the impact that it's going to have on people in their formative years and with developing brains and stuff, which is, I'm sure, of no interest whatsoever to somebody who's 15 and thinks they might not be able to do what they want to do online. But what do you think, Paddy? Like, is it better now or worse? Even aside from talking about a ban, you're probably gone beyond the age that a ban would affect you anyway. But like, you wouldn't put the genie back in the bottle, would you?
Wait, sorry, could you expand on that small bit? I'm confused.
Look, just wondering, we're in general, social media, there's a lot of ills, but I think you'd come down on the side that actually the benefits of it, if you're aware, let's say, of the risks, make it worthwhile.
Yeah, because as I said before, like you can understand like the geopolitical events going on in the world. So, and you can understand, like, if you're part of a club or you're in school, like everyone's in school, a lot of schools will post their events or the things that are coming up on their Instagram or their Facebook. Like our school does the same as well. So. And even as well, just scrolling as well. Like you can just learn random stuff. And I know there is a lot of people that will just scroll just to rot their brains nearly. But you do have that opportunity.
Sometimes that's all you want to do, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I think maybe if you could regulate the algorithm to show up more educational content. So like so that you scroll, you're not seeing stupid memes. You're actually like seeing videos that are teaching you about history or teaching you about anything like it.
And what do you think about media literacy? And I suppose, are you aware of the term and I suppose the risk that what you're reading not only might not be good for you, but is actually just wrong, deliberately false or misleading? Do you think about that?
Yeah, I do. Like what I do sometimes is that I'll actually copy the link from a TikTok video. And I'll put it into a TikTok transcript generator, and I'll actually just take the transcript and I'll put it into ChatGPT, and I'll get ChatGPT to search the web and verify it. So maybe if there is something that like would automatically do that, because that is kind of a lot of work for someone if they just want to keep doom scrolling. Maybe if there's something like that built into Instagram, into TikTok, that it would automatically have a thing where it would pull the transcript and just say if it's true or not. Then it will help people become a lot more media literate.
Yeah, as a journalist, we also always say that you need at least two sources before you can believe anything, two independent sources. You just can't take what one person says, even if you know them, as gospel. You have to kind of check around it. It's good advice for anyone in this modern world when information is coming at them right, left and centre. Unfortunately though, Sean, I know that Elon Musk was telling people who were checking out the war in Iran on X that if you don't believe something, check it, use Grok to fact check. And Grok has been making stuff up left, right and centre, and this is what we're supposed to believe can do our fact checking for us. What do you make of that?
Well, I suppose Grok, I think, tries to search the web when it goes to like prove these things that people might ask it, and you know that might work for a lot of things, but I suppose the problem you could face is if the articles that people are writing are based off the already false information, Grok is just taking those articles which are false and then saying that it's true because the articles exist, which is a sort of kind of feedback loop which just isn't working.
Yeah. So what would you do? Do you fact check stuff when you see it online?
Yeah, I suppose generally now what I would do is I just Google something. So I'm still a bit maybe traditional in the sense that I don't use ChatGPT that much. But yeah, if I see some sort of like figures or facts or something, I might. Now sometimes I might just kind of take them as they are, but if I'm kind of questioning them, like if I see something that I think is just doesn't seem right to me, then I kind of go to Google and I'll kind of look at maybe even Wikipedia if there's articles there kind of talking about the facts and figure. And it's maybe it's more than just checking like what Google gives, because you have to kind of look at the results you get as well. Like if you search up some figures and things, you'll find these kind of like more tabloids, and you'd be a little more questioning maybe though their reliability than you would maybe if you saw an RT or BBC article.
Yeah, trusted sources are what we talk about certainly in the media circles, and those you have to go back to the big organisations that have a track record. Certainly. Part of the problem, though, is that I know that there's sophisticated scammers and people who are deliberately sowing misinformation who will actually make it look like it's come from RTE or BBC and tell you that this is now the truth. Is it something that you would do on a regular basis, Sean, or is it just when something twigs your spidey senses, you say, "Oh, I don't think that looks right"?
I suppose, like, as I said, I don't really use TikTok all that much anymore because of my time limit. But I'd like to think I'm quite good at, fact checking things if I see something come along. I don't have any like number in my head as to like how to do this 50% of the time or 100% of the time. But I like to think I'm quite good at it.
Yeah. Kate, what about you? I mean, it's all well and good to say that if we're anyway suspicious about something, we should check it. But what about that time that you're standing at the bus stop, like we said, and something comes up and you say, "Oh, that's interesting, but I don't know if that's true." But you're busy, so you don't check it. But it might lodge in your brain, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's so hard to know what's true and what's what, because there is a huge lack of trust now on the internet, because so many things look like they're real, they look like they're from a reliable source, and they're not. And with AI as well, the whole thing creating fake images, fake things of people, and that has a huge effect on people as well, because there's things being said about them, things being shown about them that just isn't true, and it really affects their mental health as well. So it's just so hard to know what's true and what's not.
Yeah, I suppose that is maybe one good thing that has come out of the whole Grok situation, is it might make people, like, it's really high profile, these images that it was creating without any consent, and in some cases were clearly illegal because there was minors involved. Are people talking about it more? Would you guys talk about it with your classmates, with your friends, that like just the harm that can be done online? Like, I know bullying is a kind of a term in inverted commas, but random stuff like this that could come out of the blue. Do you talk about it at all?
We wouldn't talk about it too much. Like, sometimes people might make a fake image or whatever as like a joke, but obviously it wouldn't go too far. It's just having a bit of a laugh or whatever. But I think people are aware of the dangers of the false information that's going around and how big of an effect it can have on people, and it can change their lives. But we wouldn't necessarily discuss it too much.
And I suppose, Paddy, tell me, we're talking about AI here. Do you Sean said he wasn't using ChatGPT that much, but do you use it? Do you use it in doing homework, in doing research, in telling you what the best way to format an exercise might be?
Yeah, like I'm not going to come on here and lie. Like I do, of course. And I think people that like kind of reject the use of AI are a little bit silly, because it does provide so many benefits. Like, obviously you do have the fact that, like, I think there was a study done that people that use ChatGPT more regularly, that their brain function has kind of come down a small bit. I don't quote me on that now because I don't know it exactly, but I think it's really good for like the likes of maths, because if I can take a picture from my maths book and I haven't a clue how to do the question, and I can get ChatGPT to explain to me how to do the question, and I think that's really beneficial. But
that might work, Paddy, the one time that you're stuck on something. But if you're doing it for your homework every day, then you don't know the basics.
So, yeah, well, I suppose there's like kind of two sides to it. So, like, if you want to be lazy, you can take a picture of it and get it to do it for you. But if you want to learn how to do it, you can take a picture of it, ask it to explain it to you, and then once you grasp the concept, get it to give you two more similar questions and do those, and then you remember how to do it. And that's what I do most of the time, if I have time.
Very good.
So, I think you just have to... I think AI is a great tool, but you shouldn't really be lazy with it. Like, you need to know how to use it properly, and maybe there should be AI literacy as well. That should be something maybe taught in the likes of SPHE or CSP.
Yeah, and look, there's in the working world, people are afraid that AI, in inverted commas, as a big monster, is going to come and take your job. But the reality is that someone who's good at using AI is going to get the good jobs in the future. That seems to be the way you're looking at it. That ability to manipulate AI and maybe not trust it, but coax it and train it to do what you want to do is the way of the future.
Yeah, but I definitely do think it probably will take jobs as well. Like, I know obviously you can say like the person that knows how to use AI will take your job, but like the fact is, like, Sean and I, we've built an app and it's just the two of us and we use AI to code it, and like we've built an app and built new softwares that would have taken developer teams with like 20 people, and it would have taken them months, and it takes Sean can like do one prompt and spin it up in 20 minutes. Like it's I think it definitely will take jobs, and I know that's a scary
so
thing,
one person who's good with AI can take 5 jobs, in fact.
Exactly, yeah. That's a better way to look at it, yeah.
Yeah. And Sean, obviously you're the coding whiz, are you? And tell me, tell me a bit about your app, actually, first of all.
Yeah, so it's called Study Talk. So it's kind of a TikTok for studying is what we call it. So it uses AI, because I suppose we both of us agree that AI is a big thing for education now. And what you can do is you just upload your notes. So if you're taking notes during class, or even a picture of a textbook, and it'll generate a quiz for you that you can scroll through like TikTok. So we looked at TikTok and we saw how addictive it was, like we're talking with the social media ban. And we thought, well, what if you could use that for something good rather than just doom scrolling on TikTok, if you could do something productive with it. So that's what we do with Study Talk.
And you used AI in it. You say you're not generally checking ChatGPT, but you're aware of, I suppose, the need to use it and to master it, maybe. Yeah, well, I suppose when I said I don't use ChatGPT, I don't use ChatGPT to fact check things because of the same problem it might have as Grok. But I do generally use ChatGPT quite a lot for a lot of other things. Making the app is one thing. Yeah. Because daily homework?
Oh no, I would never use it for my homework, no. As Paddy said, I would use it to, like, if I was stuck on something, to explain it to me so I can better understand it. But I wouldn't just get it to give me the answers, no.
Yeah. Kate, what about you? Daily basis for homework or not?
No, I'd never really use it for my homework, but I suppose I know a lot of people...
Maybe for a big project or something if it was coming up?
No, I had 2 projects to do this year, but I don't think it was really beneficial for what I was doing. And I know a lot of people do use it for their homework, but they kind of use it as a lazy way out. But in the long run, like when I'm sitting my leaving cert, I'm not going to be able to whip up ChatGPT in the middle of it and for it to tell me what to do. So I think by doing that in a way, it is making your brain more lazy, and you're not going to be able to sit out, say if you have a maths problem, sit out and do it and try figure it out yourself, because that's what you're going to have to do in a big exam. You're going to have to try figure it out yourself. You're not going to have your phone in your pocket to tell it how to do it for you, so you need to know how to do it yourself, really.
Yeah, very interesting. Look, you guys seem to be very well informed. I suppose we better draw this to a close, because I'll have to go to an ad break very quickly. But just to finish off, Kate, maybe, like I say, you seem to be informed. Tell me, what would your message be, not necessarily to the government, but to parents now who are thinking of whether or not their younger kids, their young teenagers, should have a phone, should have social media? What would you say?
I think I'd put it off for as long as possible. Like, I do know, I understand at some stage your child does need to have a phone for safety reasons. Obviously, if you're gone somewhere, you need to be able to contact your parents, contact people in case of emergency. But you don't necessarily need social media as well to be able to do that. And you can see the effect it has on people. And I think by delaying it, by the time you get to 16, you'll be so used to not using it that you won't see the need to then have it. So I do think it would have a very good effect, and the dangers of it as well. I just think parents need to be aware of that and consider what they are providing to their children.
And if you were talking to an uncle or a stranger at the bus stop who was worrying about whether or not to give a phone to their kids, and if they did, what apps to allow, what would you say?
Yeah, I would probably just try to inform them of the whole time limit thing you can do. I'm not sure if it's available on Androids, but I know on iOS devices you can, because it kind of just allows you, maybe your kid wants to use TikTok so they can kind of stay in touch with their friends a little bit, or use Instagram so they can see what's happening. But at the same time, with those app limits you can set up in your device's settings, you can set limits like 15 minutes or half an hour or an hour a day. So that way they're not just spending their entire day on it, but they can still maybe use it to a degree that they can stay in contact with their friends.
And Paddy, do I know what you were going to say? Let them rip.
No, actually, I actually fully agree with Sean. Sean actually really hit the nail on the head there. I think if you can, the parent, because actually my mum did it for me when I was in first year. That she had, like, we had the family account because we all had iPhones, and then my mum would set the time limit, and then I could only have like half an hour a day on TikTok, and then I could request more time. And obviously, if I was spending too much time, then she could choose not to grant that. And if I I was a good boy, then I could have my.
So the ban isn't a great idea from your point of view, but control, some sort of control is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm glad that you guys agree with me on that. I hope you're a representative of your entire generation, but somehow I don't know if we've got a full sample. You guys have been great. I better go to an ad break. So Kate, Sean, and Paddy, thanks a million for coming in.
Cheers.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, welcome back to the show. We are doing another stop on our whistle stop tour of the Premier County, just checking in on all the arrangements for the parades. Councillor Shane Lee is with us now. Shane, good morning.
Good morning, Donald. Good morning to your listeners, and thanks for having me on your show this morning, just to give you a bit of feedback on what's happening in Roscrea in relation to the St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Yeah, I'm just looking here at my notes, Shane, and it's the 46th annual successive St. Patrick's Day Parade in the town. Of course, it leads me to wonder what happened in 1979.
Well, I can just tell you, Donald, that was before my time. And I suppose just to say that, parades are unique. They're part of our history and they're part of our culture. And, we're very passionate about the parade in Roscrea. And I suppose, it is a challenge. I've said it to Fran in previous years, trying to get floats and whatnot. But, people are good. Clubs are good. Organisations are good. And the community is good. And it's important for us as a parade committee that we continue to have a parade in Roscrea. We've seen in other places and towns where it is a challenge. That goes without saying, but we want to continue that tradition in the town of Roscrea, and it's something that we're very passionate about. And I suppose as a local councillor in the area, notwithstanding being the chairperson of this committee, I see the benefits and I see the importance of it. It's probably one of the biggest gatherings in any town in the 1 year is the St. Patrick's Day, and I wasn't around last year. I was away on other business, but to look back even on the social media platforms and see the amount of green carrying the colours of Ireland, and the flags and the happiness and everything that goes with it, it's heartwarming for a committee when you see it when it goes off successful.
Of course it is, and as you say, it's a massive day for the community, for people to get together, and even if they can't get involved in some way, they come out and support you and see what's going on. You are going on Tuesday, Shane. Give us some of the details. Start time 3:30, is it?
Yes, exactly. So we're starting at 3:30. The gathering of the floats will take place in the old Pesco car park. And look, the floats themselves, they're fully aware of what way it goes. It goes down, out onto... it turns right coming out of Tesco, down along, heads up by Castle Street and up Main Street and finishes off then outside Supermax, that area there. We just, I suppose, it's important to say that we just appreciate, and if the people could just be conscious of the fact that we start setting up the parade in around the time of 12 noon. So obviously you're pulling and dragging, and we just ask, if they can at all possible, the motorists just to be conscious and to be aware that there's volunteers on that morning. There can be a small bit of disturbance in trying to set up. So in fairness, and in previous years, people have always been very good and very kind to us. So it starts at 3:30. This year, it would be remiss of me not to say the parade is in remembrance of our late committee member, who was Steve Crofton. Steve has passed away since our last parade in 2025. He was a very valuable member of to the parade committee in Roscrea. He was a man that was very humble and very passionate. He was my predecessor in terms of the chairperson of the parade. And this year Steve's vintage car will lead the parade for us in Roscrea. So I just want to mention that here this morning. It would be remiss not to mention Steve.
And that's a fine tribute.
Yeah, and just also, if I could, Don, just to say that, the guest of honour this year is Anne Cleveney. Anne has given her lifetime on a voluntary basis to a lot of community groups and organisations in Roscrea. So Anne is the guest of honour this year. Our judge will be Tom and Anne Ralph. And that's basically the run of it. I suppose I want to acknowledge we have a very small working committee that works above and beyond to have a successful parade. And I want to acknowledge their volunteerism here this morning as well. And any parade committee across the county, just to acknowledge what to do, because as I said, there's an undertaking in it. There's weeks of planning and getting it all together. And so I just want to acknowledge that today. I also want to just say face painting starts at 1:30 p.m. That would happen outside Shaw's in Roscrea. That finishes up obviously at 3:30. Also to say that we encourage the shop window display. We do a shop window display. This year the first prize for the window display is €100 and a cup, and then there's a second and third prize of €250. So we're encouraging the businesses to come on board with us and brighten up the town in terms of shop window displays as well, if at all possible.
Yeah, great. So the advice, I guess, to people coming in is to try and get there early, get the face painting from around, so try and be in around 1 o'clock if you're going to make the most of the day, is it?
Yes, absolutely. And it's also important to acknowledge for people to, get in early, go in and have a cup of tea, a coffee, spend a few pounds in Roscrea. The businesses are there to meet them, and to hang around after. And, if you can shop local, that's the point I'm trying to make here. It would be very helpful because, as I said, it's one of the busiest days in the town and everybody has fun, and we just hope that the business community can benefit from that as well.
Yeah, see who you meet in the pub or the cafe or the shop as you're getting around for the day.
There's lots going on. The music, the theatres will be playing music before the parade. They usually start in around 2:30. So there's lots of entertainment and lots happening. So.
And for anyone worried about the traffic disruption, Shane, at what time will it all be wrapped up and the roads cleared?
So it will be wrapped up in or around, usually takes about an hour and 20, but say it's 3:30, 4:30, in around between 4:30 and 5 o'clock. We'd ask people to give us around 5 o'clock, but the Gardaí are very good to us there, and I just want to acknowledge their involvement in the parade as well. So in fairness, and we have marshals that keep an eye on things as well. So just like the local link have been in touch with us, they will be taking a deferred route. And yeah, it runs smoothly. Thanks be to God, Don. Everybody knows the running of it, and everyone knows the parade is taking place. So I suppose a bit of common sense goes a long way in relation to this also.
Does, of course. Listen, good luck with it. Let's hope the weather forecast stays fairly dry, Shane, and enjoy the day. And we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks a million.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye now.
Now, Bamid Arasharish, Taresh Brisha Biog, and we will be myth busting with Muriel.
Tipp FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp today on 1800 938 007.
Now we're back for the last section on Tip Today for this Thursday. Donal here sitting in for Fran, and we're going to do a little bit of weight loss myth busting now. I'm joined for our regular wellbeing slot by Muriel Cuddy. Muriel, good morning to you. Thanks for coming in.
Morning, Donal. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm getting on all right. We're nearly at the end of the first day anyway.
You are.
And you picked myth busting today. Food is one of those things that there's a huge amount of myths out there.
Huge. And I see it every day. So every day somebody that comes into me will have 2 or 3 things of like, oh my God, I can't believe that. I'm doing that for the last God knows how long, and I thought it was good, I thought it was healthy. And social media drives it, doesn't it? Because we have so many different channels that we're actually watching things on. So what's right and what isn't right. So what we're doing today is literally me clearing up a few of those little things that might be in somebody's head of like...
Yeah, absolutely. Even talking to the school kids there on the panel earlier, and they're talking about all the stuff that is thrown at them. They fact check some of it, but other stuff, it might come under the radar, and it mightn't twig you that you need to fact check this because it might even seem common sense to them. But there's a lot of stuff that you want to get through. The first thing here is that a food reaction must be an allergy or an intolerance.
Well, most people that come in think if they have a reaction to food that it is an allergy. So they'll say like, I'm allergic to dairy, I'm allergic to wheat or whatever. And that's not true. Like, it doesn't have to be necessarily true. Intolerance issues are a lot more widespread than allergens. So like dairy and things like that. And if it's intolerance related, it's not life altering. You know, you can actually, if you get that good gut bacteria back, maybe that food is okay again. Whereas an allergy is completely different. It can be long term.
Yeah. So there's differences there, and you need to find out which it is before you kind of act on it. Yeah, very good. Does it have to be fresh veg with muck on it to be the most nutritious?
Not
Muriel?
at all. Now, I do like the muck, as in that's the bacteria. So we had that when we were growing up, as in you pulled something out of the ground and you had the clay, and we had all the minerals in the clay. So
the carrots with the dirt and the head on them.
The scallions, remember all of that? Like literally, and you'd eat them as they were. But we're missing that now. But they are just as nutritious when they're frozen. So they're frozen almost immediately. So you don't need to worry about that. The same, I get asked a lot about berries because they go off so quickly. Absolutely fine. If they're in the freezer, go with it.
Yeah, and look, that's obviously great for food waste and stuff. But does it depend on the veg or the fruit? Like, do some of them work better? Not
really, no. Once they're frozen and they're frozen on time, you're fine. And it's more cost effective because there is a question in there in relation to is it very hard to eat healthy? And is it very expensive to eat a healthier diet? It's not. So if you actually choose wisely, say if your fruit and veg is inside in the freezer and you take it out, like a bag of spuds doesn't cost an awful lot, like your rice, your potatoes or your pasta or whatever. So if you actually put together a list of decent good foods, even I know protein costs a little bit more, as in like if you have fish and chicken it might cost a little bit more, but I know on the weeks that I do a clean shop, so the lads aren't with me and they're not firing biscuits and stuff into the trolley.
That's what you call a clean shop, is it?
Yeah. Well, we won't go down that rabbit hole today. But you know, when you do actually a decent shop, it costs like less than what it does when I'm putting the biscuits and stuff in. So like you're kind of substituting maybe extra turkey burgers for like the rubbish stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And of course, protein, there's a lot of talk about how we all need to keep our protein regular, especially as people get older. But it's not all about meat. No, it's not. And you know, there's so many different plant-based protein sources that are there at the minute, and they're so cheap. Like you've chickpeas, kidney beans, you know, you've lentils, you even get things like mixed beans. I've seen them in Tesco. They're in a vinaigrette dressing. To fry them into a salad or whatever, they're like 50 or 55 cents in the tin. So like, there's loads of other ways we can actually get protein in that you don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But we don't need loads of protein either. We need a certain amount, so don't overdo it. Yeah, we kind of overestimate that. It's that palm of your hand rule for meat and fish, isn't it? Yeah, and it's added to everything, Donald. Yeah. And that's complete nonsense because it's synthetic protein. So I say bioavailable. So you eat it. You see a chicken, you pull it apart, you see the stringy bits, you see the blood little bits or whatever. That's bioavailable. Tuna, salmon, that's bioavailable. Very good. And leftovers in the fridge, sure, they're grand for a week if they haven't grown any mould, aren't they? And you know, I'm one person that always says, don't throw things away. Like literally, like even the bread, the lads go mad because like I would cut the mould off the bread, literally, like it's brown bread. We used to have it stop giving out. But yeah, bit of mould won't kill you. No, it's bacteria. It's actually very good for your gut, you know. But anyway, the leftovers in the fridge, 3 to 4 days is kind of the limit. If you've gone past 4 days, you're done, dump it and always seal it. So make sure like lunch boxes are your best friends or Tupperware cartons are your best friends, seal it, yeah. Should we be all intermittent fasting or is that a good way to lose weight? Isn't that a huge one? Like it's out there so much, isn't it? Like intermittent fast, do it from 8 o'clock at night to whatever time the next morning, like, and that's brilliant and it cleanses your system and all that kind of thing. Calories in versus calories out. It doesn't really matter what time of the day. Yes, if you're going to eat a lot of calories in the evening time, your body might store, as in your metabolism slows down a little. But the intermittent fasting piece, to me, it's really a myth of if you can eat proper good food all day long, then you're going to be okay. The calorie window just to rest your body is there, but you don't need to do like a full day of fasting or like 16 or 18 hours. No. And is it actually counterproductive? In some instances, yes, definitely in that. Now, the people listening, like perimenopausal women, menopausal women, you definitely don't do it, okay? Our hormones are all over the place already. We need to regulate everything. So we need to eat that 3 times a day and the 2 snacks. Men can do it a little bit better. So men can definitely do the window of, say, maybe 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening until the next morning's breakfast time, 8 or 9. That's like a 12-hour window. That to me is enough. Now, I know a lot of the experts out there will say 24 hours cleanse everything. The liver, the kidneys, the lungs, they're all there. They're all supposed to work properly. They all do the detox. They do the cleanse for you. Yeah. That's there was the fad of detoxing for a month, and you're gonna. Well, the main thing, you go off your teas and coffees and get your headaches from withdrawal systems and stuff. But your body and your liver is always cleaning out your system.
They do it themselves, like the cabbage soup diet, all of these things. Like it's complete nonsense because like you're not getting the nutrition, etc. that you need. It's like we always say, rest, repair and inoculate. That's what you're actually doing with your body. So you rest it like 2 to 3 hours between meals. You repair it by eating good food, and you're re-inoculating then the good gut bacteria.
Yeah, look, I love a bit of cabbage, but I don't think I could eat cabbage soup very often. Tell us, you mentioned good foods there. Are there good foods and bad foods?
Yeah, of course there is, yeah. And like, I talk about it all the time for anyone that listens. Like, so your carbohydrates, people become very obsessed with, if they're trying to lose weight, no carbs, low carb diet, the keto diet, which is like high protein or whatever. Listen, we have to have carbs. Carbs are our energy source. That's literally like, you just choose the good and bad. And it's very easy to do it, Donal. Go back to where we were 70 years ago. A spud's a spud. Do you know what I mean? Like, porridge is porridge, Weetabix is Weetabix, brown bread, things like that. All your fruit, veg, all your salad, they're all really good carbs, and you include them in every single meal. If you're doing that, your energy systems are up, and they're all like all your vitamins and all your minerals, so the cell renewal piece. So we have to have carbs. That's one of the big things. So is there good and bad foods? Processed food is bad. If it comes out of a box, if there's like more than 4 ingredients in it, they're the foods that kill us. We put in the proper foods. I always say food is a medicine or poison. If food is a proper whole food, it's a medicine. If food has more than 4 or 5 ingredients, it's a poison.
Yeah, it's like the difference between poison and medicine is the dosage.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and soy foods then.
And it's not a big one as well. And I've got a lot of women coming in will even say to me, can I have soy, estrogen, all of that kind of thing? Does it drive it? Like, if you don't have an intolerance to soy, you're fine. Even the amount of soy foods that people take in, it's very little. Say, like, if you're having a soy milk or a soy yogurt as an alternative to dairy, that's fine. So if you're not intolerant, it's a bit like gluten, So like, people will say, I'm going on a gluten-free diet, want to lose weight or whatever, and then come in, they'll say, Muriel, I'm off gluten for the last 2 months, whatever, and haven't lost a pound. If you're not gluten intolerant, you don't need to go off gluten. It's a binder, yes, within your wheat and your rye and your grains and that, but we need those foods as well, Donal. So yeah, if you're not gluten intolerant, don't go off it.
We're up against time, Muriel. We'll do 1 or 2 more. Should we be eating before bedtime, or should we be leaving that gap you were talking earlier from 7 or 8 o'clock?
Again, it's the same thing, right? So if you're working and you're doing shift work and you're coming in at 8 or 9 o'clock at night and you're hungry, should you eat or shouldn't you? It's what you choose, to be honest. So you don't need a heavy meal of like potatoes, meat and veg that's going to sit in your system, and the blood goes to your digestive system to actually work really hard over the next 2 or 3 hours to try and work it through your body. So if you eat something softer, so even if you're eating, like, say, if it was nice salmon and veg and you had maybe like a smaller amount of potatoes, then your body is okay. So you don't have to eat right up until you're jumping into bed. Give the gap of the couple of hours, but you don't have to, what would you say, stop your eating at 4 o'clock in the evening and then you're done for the night. Most people get hungry, Donal, around 7 or 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and they're like, I can't sleep if I'm not having something to eat. Weetabix is wonderful. Weetabix at 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening is like fibre, sweeps out the system. Yeah, half the country are on it.
Very good. I'm going to do one last one, Muriel, if you're okay with it. And I don't think I'm going to like this answer. Is it better to use brown sugar and honey and stuff than going for the white sugar?
Sugar is sugar is sugar is sugar.
No, don't say that.
And they all have empty calories, and none of them have any real nutrition. Now, people will ring in and give out to me on this one. Honey is actually good. Honey is the best of mezzine. Honey is a prebiotic, so honey does feed the flowers. So if you can get your gut bacteria, I'll call your gut bacteria flowers, right? So honey does feed that, right? So yeah, if you get it from a raw and unblended lovely beekeeper down the road or whatever, that's a marvellous food. But sugar is sugar at the end of the day.
That's desperate. I love a bit of honey, and I could convince myself that it's better for me. But anyway, look, I better call it quits because Muriel, thank you very much for coming in and busting those myths. But we are up against the end of the show, folks. I'm going to go to a quick break here before we tidy up. Okay, folks, it is 12 o'clock, so that's it from Tipp Today and from me, Donal Doyle, for today. Many thanks for joining us and listening in, and to our guests, and mostly to Leanne for walking me through the show. Stephen is up next, but Pat is here with the news.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.